Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Right, a lot of videos were done today, a lot of content done. Big news is Tyson Fury's coming back to boxing, and his comeback fight is on the 9th of June. So if you're a boxing fan, put that in your calendar. Obviously, the Stanley Cup playoffs have started, and there's been some very interesting games already. Vegas have won their first ever game in the playoffs. The Jets have won their first, won a game in the playoffs for the first time, and then Penguins annihilated the Flyers. So there's that. So yeah, jerseys for Humboldt. That's one. Wearing my hockey jerseys tonight. Because seen the video. That's why I'm wearing my hockey jersey tonight. But no, there's a lot's happened. Tyson Fury's a big one. Obviously, he's coming back to boxing after a 2.5 year absence. He's had a difficult time of things, and so that'd be interesting. But yeah, so if you've got any questions, place them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. And let's get going. Let's see what questions you guys have tonight, and what we're going to discuss. Let's see how long this live stream's going to last as well. That'd be interesting to see how long we can get the live stream to go for. There's a lot to discuss. A lot happened yesterday in the Champions League, and obviously Arsenal are playing tonight as well in the Europa League, so that's going to be interesting. So yeah, place your comments, questions. Let's discuss what we need to discuss, I suppose. So yeah, I'm all ears, and I'm waiting for you guys to place your questions, and let's get going. Right, okay. The new Elite League team are going against Edinburgh Capitals to see who use the rink. Yeah, a little bit, very badly. That made no sense. Well, we all know that the Edinburgh. Try and explain it again. But we all know the Edinburgh Capitals are allegedly having money problems, and we have to see what happens with them. If they do fall out of the Elite League, it does screw up the league because it means it's an odd-numbered league. Okay, that makes more sense. A reformed club would be a good idea. I don't know who has the rights to the Capitals name. Hello. I'm not 100% sure who has the rights to the Capitals name as such, whether it's the Elite League. There'll be a new team. It'll be a new team completely. Unless the Edinburgh Capitals allow the new team to use, reform and use the carry on the team's name. But we shall see what happens with that. The Elite League is growing in popularity in the UK, and the quality of the teams playing are also getting better. So we shall see. But the Edinburgh Capitals have had money problems for a while, and maybe a change of ownership or a new team coming in could be beneficial. But we'll have to see what happens, and we'll have to see what the Elite League says, because if that doesn't work out and they can't work out a financial rescue package for them, then the Elite League loses a team, which they don't want to. Really want to find a box Sony. Yeah, maybe it's meant to be really difficult But the jersey I'm wearing is my local team, and you can only buy this at the local team shop. So you would have to look probably on the Broncos website and get it mail ordered, possibly. But I have heard that they are hard to get hold of. Yet somehow people all over the NHL seem to be grabbing a Broncos jersey. There must be someone who sells them on eBay or can get them stocked. But bearing in mind it's junior hockey, not pro hockey, so it's going to be hard to find them. If I'm honest, very hard to find them. But we shall see if they can. I would try eBay. If not, try the Humboldt Broncos website. They may have a club shop store, and they may be able to send you one. And I'm sure that can be sorted. It's a new run close. Right. Okay. That's interesting. From what I know, the Elite League basically has to invite you to join. You don't apply. They invite you. They look at your finances. They look at like your player development. They look at the fan base. Hence why Milton Keynes and Guildford got to join the Elite League, was they had the fan base, they had the rink size, they had the infrastructure, they had the financial backing, and therefore, I don't know what the attendance is for the Edinburgh team. I really don't. But they've had money problems, so if I'm honest, it will come down whether they can actually afford to put a team on the ice. It's not that they can't sign players, it's if they can pay the players. I've heard rumours that the players haven't necessarily been paid. I've heard rumours that the club are facing severe financial problems, the ownership group. We have to see what happens and what is done. We have to see on that. The league cannot afford to go to an odd-numbered league. It would be a pain in the arse for multiple reasons. And the league is trying to expand, hence the 2 new teams joining. So they would want to keep growing the game in the UK. The new club have been approved by the league, so now the 2 clubs to discuss what's going to happen. I honestly think the Edinburgh Capitals name will live on. Just the old Edinburgh Capitals will become defunct, and then so we shall see. The Mr. Sean Avery, the hockey guy, he's obviously doing his fundraiser for the hockey. He's doing obviously his roller hockey or his road hockey match. I am going to donate money, but because I live outside Canada, I'm going to wait and hold fire until they can confirm it. I'll write them a message and say I want to donate some money. How do I go about it from the UK? Because I got 10 million. I'm assuming that's Canadian dollars they've raised. That's not bad going in the amount of time, but such is the effect across the sport, because over here in the UK we have lots and lots of ex-NHL players who apply their trade in our top tier league, the Elite League, and then some ex-ECHLers and AHLers are playing in the leagues below. We do have ex-NHL players play over in the UK. I will be trying to donate money, but because I live in the UK, I don't have a passport. Otherwise, I would have booked a ticket and flown over, and found somewhere to stay for a night. Played the hockey, donate what I could, and then flown back to the UK. I believe they're doing it inside, from what he said. So they did an update video on it last night, and they discussed. They did, I think, done a couple of update videos on where they are in that. But I'm going to message him on Twitter and say, how do I send money to the because they're not using GoFundMe for their one. They're using a different way, so they make sure 100% of the proceeds go to Brody Heinz's family. So that'd be interesting. Okay, Casey, with the Basingstoke Bison, when I read the newspaper article in December before I went to an away game there, it said that the future beyond March, just gone, They were uncertain. If they stay at that rink, I will be amazed because so much repair work needs to happen. They need to reset the boards. They need to relay the ice sheet and lay the sheet of concrete because that rink is not in a suitable condition to play on. I'm surprised no players at the Basingstoke ice rink have been injured yet severely because if it is amazing, I will be amazed if they can be allowed under safety, under like the health and safety, because after the rink is condemned. Okay, Juventus can. I think the reaction of Buffon and what happened in the last few minutes. Now, I was thinking there was a match fix on, but looking at Buffon's reaction and the team's reaction to the penalty, I think Juventus can actually feel aggrieved that there was a decision that actually went against them. And if I'm honest, says it all. He couldn't find New Jersey. Yeah, just as I think the proceeds will be going towards a charity fund. Another guy who fund me's helped, and the hockey guy being, and there's other things to do as well. But a 16th person, I think the team trainer sadly passed away yesterday. Why I'm today. What upsets someone predicting in the hockey in the NHL playoffs? I think Vegas are going to beat the Kings in 6. The Blue Jackets, I think, will possibly. I agree with you on the Blue Jackets. Boston, Toronto. I'm actually predicting Boston for the final. If you look at my predictions video, I've done a predictions video. I'm actually going a Nashville Boston final. So I think Boston, that won't be an upset. They finished above them in the standings. I think it's so difficult to tell. We've only just got through the first, and we've got the next batch tonight. The next 5 tonight. It is very early. But after the first, all teams have played their first games tonight. By the end of this evening, we'll have a better idea of where, what kind of upsets we're going to have. I did predict in my Stanley Cup prediction video, which is completely different to the hockey guys because I have a different final and I've worked out different in my head, that there'll be no series sweeps at all throughout the entire playoffs. But after watching Pittsburgh demolish Philadelphia, the Flyers lose 7-0 last night. Yeah, no, that's looking likely to be a complete and utter for. I wouldn't be surprised if New Jersey upset the odds. I wouldn't be surprised if New Jersey upset the odds a bit. But Columbus over Washington, I wouldn't cast that really as an upset, but a lot of people would because Columbus's lack of playoff success and experience. And Boston Toronto is going to be a very, very interesting series. It's going to be really grindy, gritty, and whoever comes out of that's going to be very, very beat up. Right. If I'm honest, I think Vegas will do it in 5 against Los Angeles. Pittsburgh, I think, are going to do it. Yeah, the Penguins, from the way they played last night, they're not as good as they were in the last 2 Stanley Cups they've won. But the Flyers are just not a playoff team. They were very lucky to get there. I think the Avalanche will have a big test against Nashville. I think Nashville Avalanche, that's going to be interesting. And I think New Jersey, I think they could possibly, with the way Taylor Hall's playing, get through. I believe they're playing Tampa Bay. I believe. Hope I'm right. But it's a difficult one. I don't really see any sweeps apart from the Pittsburgh Penguins getting through on a sweep. Yeah, I think Florida deserves more as well. But this is what I mean when they say when these on TSN Sportsnet say the games down the stretch are the ones that count. Every game counts. You should try and win as many games as possible in the season. And as these guys found out, my team here in England, we decided to go on a 12-game losing, 12, 13 game losing streak and got battered in our playoffs, and we are out. But yeah, Florida got more points than Colorado. Yeah, Florida miss out and Colorado got in. So the playoff format debate raised again. The playoff format debate gets raised every season. Yeah, no, it is. I think it would have been nice to see Dadenoff in the playoffs. He's had a brilliant season, but I think the whole Florida Panthers have had a home record stand. They won the most games at home in a season. They've had one of their best seasons for a long time. And next year, if they carry on this form, yes, they're going to be a playoff side. They're they're going to be a playoff side next year if they carry on this form and carry on playing for each other the way they have. They've got a good setup there. The only issue with Florida is their rink in Sunrise is on the edge of the Everglades when it's more into downtown Miami. But Miami itself has an issue with fans not going to games when sports teams play there. They have, for some reason, Miami, big metropolitan area, should be able to support major league franchises, and all the major league franchises do struggle to sell out. So it's a Miami thing for some reason. But yeah, Philadelphia, they look like a very weak side. Their goaltending. I'm not sold on Elliott and Mrazek as a goalie tandem. They're missing Neuwirth in goal, and their defence is very young and inexperienced. But that's my personal opinion on it. I think with Patrick Laine scoring last night, that's going to help his development. He's won a playoff game and he scored in a playoff game. And his long-term development is key for the future of the Jets franchise and how they're going to go forward. The Wild, again, you say they are a revelation. And I think when Seattle can be given just as much of a chance. I don't think the expansion rules will change at all. I think the same expansion rules will apply to Seattle as they did for Vegas. It's going to give pasta sauce by 2. Yeah, Seattle are going to be given the same chance that Vegas was to basically put together a very, very good roster. Whether Vegas is protected from the expansion draft in a year and a half's time, we'll wait and see. But that's going to be a very interesting time. But I think then when Seattle joins the NHL, that is it for expansion. Yeah, the St. Louis Blues. They I don't know why they gave us Paul Stastny on the deadline. I don't know why the Blues gave us the Jets Paul Stastny. As a Jets fan, I do not understand why the Blues basically gave us Stastny. And I hope he signs with us long term because he was crucial last night. He had a lot of important plays and played quite well. And if I'm honest, the Blues fell apart. They really did. The Sharks really slowed down dangerously as well. And the Avalanche were very, very lucky to get in because the Blues imploded. I think the Avalanche is possibly the weakest side in the playoffs this year. But if they spring a surprise against Nashville, I wouldn't be surprised. We'll have to wait and see. Just some of these Avalanche players. Okay, that's the player they describe the Canucks prospect as. Yeah, I mean Paul Stastny. I'm very surprised St. Louis, decided to give him to us at the draft, the deadline, draft deadline, the trade deadline. Sorry. He was very, very, very vital to our performance last night because I could only catch the highlights, which was really, really annoying. But I have live score app able to look at the score. The issue I think the league needs to look at possibly is, okay, Seattle's going to be the last expansion team. So that keeps it nice and even, and that just means Arizona will move to the Central Division. And I did a video on relocation. I honestly don't think any team's going to relocate anytime soon. We have the collective bargaining agreement they're going to probably have to give the players revenue sharing, otherwise the players will probably strike. But it's very, very interesting. I mean, we shall see what happens at the collective bargaining in a couple of years. I think the league wants to avoid a lockout because they're just getting a new expansion team. But we shall see what happens. I'll get back onto that later on in the live stream. I believe if Roma win the Champions League, it'll be the biggest. I don't know. I mean, we shall see what happens in the semi-finals. Knockout football is knockout football. Hard to predict what can happen. Last night with the whole Juventus last couple of minutes, that was interesting. But we'll see. We will see. But they've got to get to the final first. Right. But they have to get. It will be a great accomplishment. I don't think it'll be the biggest. I think Italian football has had many accomplishments. It will be one of them. But you've got to look at the 1982 World Cup and the 2006 World Cup as well. And the amount of Champions Leagues that AC Milan has. Look at them and then compare it. Roma, we shall see if they get to the final, then we shall see. They said they want to try and do 40 teams. They shouldn't at all. Okay, with the 40 teams, you got to think the cost would be ridiculous. The travel, and not every team will get to play each other every season, so fans will miss out on seeing teams in the other conference. You would have so only get to play half the league fans. People say the bigger the league gets, dilutes talent. Yes and no. The NHL then pillages us over here in Europe for our good players and doesn't put any money back in to help the highest standard. So that's why there was rumours of having an NHL over here in Europe. Yeah, that disappeared very quickly. Carolina will not go for the next 7 years minimum, and I believe the new owner wants to stay there. Arizona, the last few games of the season, towards the end of the season, they were selling out Gila River. I think their arena's in the wrong place. It should be in downtown Phoenix. I had family lived in that area of Arizona for a long time. And the PR kind of it, listen to the PR. Austin Matthews only decided to play hockey because of the Phoenix. We moved that team out of there. It's a bad PR move because Austin League, he's an American player, and that's what gives more American fans and players. Austin Matthews is an Arizona success story because he grew up supporting the team. To move the team out would be a really bad PR by the league, and the NHL has had many bad PR moves over its existence. Florida would have to move closer to downtown Miami. They have the view when the helicopter shot to the Everglades is beautiful. It's just in the wrong location. They need to move that arena. I think if a team is going to be moved, it's going to be Ottawa, to be honest. Again, the collective bargaining play, when that expires in 20, that's going to be very interesting what the players in the NHLPA have to say, what the league. Interesting what comes out of that, because if the league does want to go down relocation, which has been very reluctant to do since 1996, they've only done it once, and that's when they had no choice with Atlanta, and Atlanta was only moved not because awful, and Ted Turner and the other owners, they get a relocation team. But the league's made loads of these statements. I mean, Quebec built themselves a ready arena and to come back, but teams, only one of them has remained in the same location. That's the Oilers, Edmonton, and all the others. I think Carolina, the owner, has basically stated, and again, it'd be a bad PR move to move the team out of Arizona or out of the Phoenix area because of the Austin Matthews story. The league wants to sell this product to Austin Matthews is the people they want to sell it to, and because of that team being where it is. So if the league was to move from Arizona, that'd be a Arizona. The thing is with Arizona, they have good runs in the playoffs. That's the thing. And liking players, and they have signed contracts. It is the location of the ice rink. The arena is far too outside, far too far away from downtown Miami. They need to look at possibly finding an arena closer to central Miami because you've got the monorail and you have the all the metro connections with the bus, monorail. You've got the airport. You've got the freeway system. Sunrise is a retirement community full of golf courses, and it's right by the Everglades. It is the wrong place for an ice. Right, I'm gonna move because where is it? Okay, my internet is just not cooperating. Right, chaps. We're going to migrate. We're going to change rooms. Bear with me. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Right, we're moving rooms. We're going to improve internet connection. Shit. Coming in here. That's better. Right. Please tell me the internet connection is better in here. Please tell me the internet connection. Yeah, we are going on a house tour. This is the second time this has happened. My internet provider is going to get a very, very shitty email from me. I'll be 1 minute. Okay, we're back. I do apologise. Turn the bloody. Okay, excellent. I do apologise for the internet connection going there. Excellent. Yeah, it is Jersey Day. That's why I've done the Jersey Day video. I hope the NHL isn't going to cash in on Jersey Day. I think that would be horribly wrong. But it is the postseason, so the teams that are out the NHL playoffs, they're probably already discounting their jerseys anyway. That's a thing that happens every summer. If your team's outside the playoffs, they start flogging their jerseys cheap. The teams in the playoffs, it's more expensive. But if the NHL was trying to, yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am a Jets fan. Oh, I had to run. Oh, indigestion's not good. Whew. But yeah, it is Jersey Day today. I would hope the NHL doesn't cash in any way on what's happened for the Humboldt Broncos, because I think that would be oh God, I think that would be wrong. I think that would be very, very wrong. I think every Jets fan loves Line. He's very underrated. I did a video on that. It's on the playlist. I think he is very underrated. people criticise his 5-on-5, but a lot of his goals come 5-on-5. But he has actually he's got more goals and more points and more assists than Austin Matthews, and he's played more games as well. He's had less injury problems. I think that could be something that holds Austin Matthews back long term, is staying fit. If Austin Matthews can't stay fit for long periods, then there's going to be a problem there. But I'm very concerned that Line may not be fully fit after his foot injury, because his goal scoring has gone down, his scoring rate, and that is concerning for me as a fan going forward. But these playoffs are exceptionally crucial to his development and his progression as a player and the development of the team. The Canucks, I do like the Canucks. I don't like your current jersey with the name. I just like the old Orca, the original blue and red and white jerseys from the Bertuzzi era. They're my favourite jerseys, and I do like the Canucks, but you're in a rebuild phase right now, and it's going to take a while for your team to get good. But I hope you've got some good young prospects. Bo Horvat is developing into a very good all-round player, and Brock Besser is going to be, as long as he stays fit, a very, very good goal scorer and, again, a very good team player. Arsenal versus CSKA Moscow. That's going to be interesting. Arsenal CSKA Moscow. The way Arsenal have been playing in Europe, they can do it. They can definitely put 3 or 4 past them. I would say 3-4-0. I'll go for a 4-0 to Arsenal. They know their league form has been terrible, but their European form has been quite good. No, I don't. I see the Flying V ones. They just give me they are some of the most hideous designs. Whoever was in charge of putting them on market to the fans and came up with the idea, because the sticking rink made sense. Sticking rink, I can live with that. But whoever came up with the idea of, I know, let's have Halloween colours and let's give people migraines and epilepsy. Well played. They are very, very ugly, but then I think some of the jerseys that I've got are ugly. I've got a collection of jerseys, and they're in the other room that I was in, and I've got a collection of jerseys, and I don't think I want to scare you with some of my jersey collection, because you would be not very well. But it is what it is. I think the worst jersey's got to be the Islanders fisherman jersey. That was just an abomination. But I do like the old when you first had the Orca, and the red and blue striping at the bottom. They were my favourite Canucks jerseys. I would have happily bought one of them if I could. And the third jersey from about 2003 to about 2005. Whether it fades in, that is a nice jersey as well. But no, it's been a very interesting season with what Vegas has gone and done. That's made the predicting these playoffs so difficult. We'll have to see what happens tonight. I think the Blue Jackets have a very good chance over the Washington Capitals. Very, very good chance. But yeah, I've just got Besser, Luongo, Burrows, Sean Avery. Avery. Not a fan. I'm not a fan of the real Sean Avery. But that's just me. But I've got how many have I got? I've got loads of jerseys from my local team. I've got loads of them. Far too many. And I've got my Jets jersey as well. obviously it's harder for us over here in the UK to get hold of these things because we have to go on the NHL website or eBay and pay more money to get them, which is really annoying. So it's harder to get NHL jerseys over in the UK. We can get them; it's just a lot harder to get them, and the markup in price. I'm not a big fan of the new Adidas. Yeah. The hockey guy is not a fan of Sean Avery. Not a fan. I sent in my hockey programs because that was one of them dated back from like 2008, 2009. One of my hockey programs, and I happily sent them. I sent the one with all the signalling for the referees because of the kids, because they're playing hockey and they need to learn the rules a bit better and learn the game, and so I sent them. And hopefully in the summer he does a video on these guys. But we shall see what, because he's posted a few videos today, and I haven't had a chance to have a look at the playoff previews and the other content he's put up. But I'm looking forward to some of his stuff in the summer. I subscribe to him. I would say, was it about April last year? I think. Was it May? I think May last year. I had a motorcycle accident, so I was crippled and I was in bed, and I think I subscribed to him by accident. I was just going through trying to find NHL stuff on YouTube, and I found it by accident. And within about a video, I was like, "Yeah, this guy's pretty cool." He is exceptionally knowledgeable about the sport that he loves. It is insane how much knowledge he has and how much stuff he has. He puts some of these broadcasters and the experts to shame. I like some of his older videos. Some of his older videos are really, really funny because he really roasts players and commentators, and he goes through some of his early videos are a bit more basic. He doesn't have the whiteboard, and he really, really rips into things. I mean, he really goes for it. He doesn't hold back when he's pissed off at something. He really goes for it. And I like some of his older videos because they are just a little bit more, a bit more human. I think a bit more. This is what he's like when he is just a pure fan. I think the one that I really found was brilliant when he was on one of his first dates with Yvonne, and he sat watching the Vancouver-Toronto game when Zadine gets headshotted by Kadri, and he loses but he goes bananas. He explodes, and then he got loads of like Leaf hate. All these Leaf fans were sending him like hate mail, and then the next day he's like, "No, I still don't like Kadri." The Gudbranson trade, yeah, that was hilarious. The Kadri, just any videos on Kadri and Marchand. The earlier days, he would blow up, and out would come words, and it was quite funny. But the one on trade deadline day when Vancouver traded Vanek, I believe, was it Vatanen, for a bag of pucks. That was absolutely hilarious. But it just shows how passionate he is about the sport and his favourite teams and his dislike for other teams. He really is really, really funny. Yeah, some of his early stuff is really, really funny, but it is also really raw, and it's not like as calm as it is now. Now he's like more. He is humorous. He has got his sarcasm, and he is quite. And now it's gone from the raw, funny in a different way to lots more organised now. When it was disorganised and it was just him, it was funny, but he has evolved his channel, and his channel's got really big really quick. I mean, my channel's doubled in size in the last month, but I'm nowhere on the same level as his. If my channel ever gets to like half that size, I'll be happy. If I can get to 1,000, I'll be happy. Post to post, we have a couple of British hockey channels over here. We've got a guy called Odd Man Rush. He's from the UK. He's quite good. I've given up with post to post. I've given up with Steve Dangle. I don't mind Steve Dangle, but because he's a Toronto fan, there's a lot of Maple Leaf, and that's where I want to gouge my eyes and ears out. I love. If you'll see, Sean, if you look into the comment section, you'll see a guy called Kemmel. He's a football English soccer fan over here, and he's a Chelsea fan, and he has his fan channel. I do support his videos because, well, when he blows up, it's quite funny. And he supports my live streams, and I support his. And he, for a young lad, is really into his sport, and so I don't mind the odd fan channel. Some of them I find really, really funny when it's fan TV, when you've got the fans going around interviewing other fans about how they felt about a game, especially when a team is really, really, really appalling. And some of their responses are absolutely hilarious. Fan TV channels are brilliant. But I think I've got a bit bored with Steve Dangle because now he's been done by, sort of hired or sponsored by Sportsnet. It's not as enjoyable to watch Steve Dangle anymore because the Sportsnet agenda is there, and it's just like he's gone from a fan channel to basically being a Sportsnet stooge a little bit, and I think I'm not so keen on Steve Dangle. He is very entertaining. But when Sportsnet, signed him up, his 100 Days of the NHL was quite good. I did enjoy those videos, but I'm not a fan of Sportsnet. And because it wouldn't happen to Shannon, the hockey guy, because he's not a Leafs fan. If Sportsnet was to have an option between Steve Dangle and Shannon Scanes, they're going to choose Steve Dangle 9 times out of 10 because he's a Leafs fan. Even though the hockey guy Shannon is brilliant at what he does, and I really should do a video about him and say why I enjoy watching him. I did one about Steve Dangle. Steve Dangle got good at what he did, and Sportsnet went, "You're a Leafs fan, we'll have you," because everyone who works for Sportsnet's a Leafs fan, and it's really, 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 yes, I big T, yeah, no, the fan channels are absolutely hilarious. Arsenal TV, West Ham TV. I've seen a few others floating around. Fan channels are absolutely priceless. Yeah, no, Sportsnet is Leafsnet, and I've done a video on the bias. I understand Toronto and New York and Montreal and that part of the East Coast has got most of the NHL fans. I get that. I understand that completely. I understand that here in the UK, London is the centre of our media, and Manchester. We have 2 big media centres in London and Manchester here in the UK. So yes, again, there's a bias towards football team. Well, you call it soccer, we call it football. So when we're talking about the English Premier League, there's a bias towards the teams in London and the teams in the Manchester, Liverpool area because that's what the media is set in this country. So other teams around the country don't get the coverage they deserve and the news articles they deserve. It's the same. I understand the unintentional bias, but there's sometimes when I'm looking at Tim and Sid, and I love Tim and Sid because they are funny. But they were mentioning they were doing an article on the Winnipeg Jets. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch this. And they spent 30 seconds on it and the other 7.5 minutes talking about the Maple Leafs and the Canadians. I couldn't give a toss about the Maple Leafs and the Canadians. That was clickbait. A lot of their videos are clickbait. I did like the 100 of 100 last year, though, with Steve Dangle. I think that's where he should have said, well, I've done that for you now. Let me go back to my fan channel. He's obviously making the money, so he doesn't have to. I think, given the opportunity, if Sportsnet had an option between post to post, the hockey guy, and Steve Dangle gets chosen every time. Shannon and post to post, they don't. The network will go for Steve Dangle every time because he's a Maple Leafs fan. Yeah, no, I think you've got to come over here and watch our sport. We don't have the bias play-by-play and colour commentators. When we have any match on TV, any sport, you'll have the standard BBC commentator or the Sky Sports or the BT Sport. We have our pay-per-view sports over here, and we don't have that colour and play-by-play bias. We have the colour and the play-by-play commentator, but they're normally professional journalists who've been doing it a long time and an ex-player who may have played for both teams that are playing. That's how or a player who's played in the league but may not have played for either side. And that's how they do it. They have the ex-player's point of view, who's played in that sport, and the commentator who's been following as a journalist of the sport for 10, 20, 30 years. And the bias disappears out of the broadcasting to a point. But I've noticed a lot of the TV televised games of our soccer, the FA Cup, the bigger teams get more televised games than the underdog, who probably deserves the TV money more because they have a lesser budget. But you have to watch some of the British sports, and that, unless it's like the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games when we've got British athletes, the bias isn't really there. Until you get to the international competitions, and they get stupidly biased, and I'm just like, just don't. What's the point? We're not good enough. The Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia, the Flyers are not a good team. They're a good team for the regular season. They're an average, decent side, and to play in the NHL, you've got to be good players. But they're not a playoff team. This has come a season too early for this group of players of the Flyers. They've got a good core there, but they've got too many young players, and their goaltending is still an issue. And I think the win over exaggerates how the gap. If Pittsburgh were playing a different team, let's say they're playing Tampa or Boston or New Jersey or Toronto, that result is a lot closer, or maybe a loss. It's just that Philadelphia Flyers are that bad right now. The Flyers are that bad. The UK sport is interesting. We obviously have more professional sports to choose from over in the UK that we as a nation participate in. We have what we call football, what you call soccer. We have rugby league, rugby union. We have cricket. We do have ice hockey over here in the UK. And a lot of people on Shannon's channel forget that we over here have ice hockey, as hence why I'm wearing my jersey. We do have several ice hockey leagues over in the UK. We have a lot of motorsport. We have so many sports over here in the UK that don't get the coverage they do here over in Canada or the US, which is a shame, because Canada, I've seen the Canadian rugby union team play at youth level. They played my school on a tour match, and they were absolutely massive. We do talk about rugby occasionally. It doesn't come up a lot at the moment because the big internationals are not happening at the moment, and not many rugby fans pop up on the live stream. But I'm happy to talk about both codes. You've got to remember there's rugby league and rugby union, and so when I'm talking about rugby, I could be talking about either. But when I say rugby, I mean rugby union, and when I say rugby league, I obviously mean rugby league, and there are distinct differences in that. But the rugby sevens tonight, our time, is taking place at the Commonwealth Games, and I'll be watching the rugby sevens for a little bit tonight or early in the morning, because I love rugby sevens, and one of my old schoolmates plays rugby sevens for England, so I'll be trying to catch that. But the thing is, you've got the Toronto Wolfpack now playing rugby league in Canada and doing very well, and growing as a team, and that's in the rugby league, and that's in the Super League structure, and that's really good to see. And the Canadian rugby union team, I've seen their youth set up. When I was a teenager at school, their youth under 19s played our school first 15, and they were some really, really big boys. They were massive. For 18-year-olds, they were huge. I don't know what you feed them over in Canada on the prairie, but Jesus Christ, these boys were big. Would it be possible to watch the county championship? Sorry, going again. It depends if they're on the Sky Sports Cricket channel or the Sky Sports. I don't know what the Sky Sports channel is now. They've changed the Sky Sports channels around. They may do live streams, which you may have to pay for, because several sports have gone this route of having live streams on the internet, which you just pay like a couple of quid for that live stream. But the best way I could advise you is check on their website and see if there's a live stream option that they have, where through YouTube or through a live stream company, which you pay like a couple of quid to watch. But we will see. The thing is, the reason why we have look, you see my jersey, all the advertising. there's not enough money in UK ice hockey. We used to have a league called the Super League, and I will, if you want, show you my Super League jersey that I have, which has no ads on it. And then a few years later, there's another one that I've got. The ads have come on. The Super League had money problems towards the end. So type in, if you want to research, you go on Wikipedia, type in English Super League ice hockey, and it will come up. And the league went bust, and then another league went bust shortly after that, replaced it as the top tier, and then the Elite League was formed, and it took a while to get to where it is now. And the English Premier League ice hockey went bust last year, which was really annoying because there's only 7 teams left out of 10. And now we have the national NIHL system, which is the second tier and third tier of British ice hockey, which is where these guys are playing now. And there's the symbol. Yeah, this is if you look here, that's the league now that is the second tier. Unfortunately, money is tight, and the teams rely heavily on the advertising just to keep going. This advert here is my mate's dad's company. That's my mate's dad's company. He's the main sponsor of this team, and without him, the team would be struggling to keep going. We do have some funky designs, and I'm happy. If you wait there 1 second, I will show you what our jerseys used to be like before the advertising, and then you can say if it's a good or bad jersey. And this is match worn, and it's my mate's brother's jersey from when he was playing in the late 90s. So this is really old, and it's signed. Fortunately, the name's flaked off, but the number's still there. And my mate Rob, it's his older brother, Sean, and I think you might enjoy this. Yeah, so this is my mate's brother's jersey, which I have, and the name is, unfortunately, because the name was so fragile, it's flaked off over the years, and yeah, you can see where the name was, and it's got to be redone. But yeah, it's a match worn jersey, and I'm going to try and find the battle damage. There's some blood stains on it somewhere. Yeah, it's actually previous match worn. It's been repaired. You look closely. It's got scuffs all over it where it's been, torn a little bit. But that's my match worn jersey that I have, and yeah, it's about 20 years old. This jersey's 20 years old, and it is match worn. And this is last season's jersey, and look, he's signed it as well. So I might actually, for my mate's birthday, give it back to the family. Might do, or I might give it to the hockey guy. See if his wife can fix the name. But yeah, old jersey, it is match worn. Where's the blood stain? I think the blood stain's washed out. But yeah, this is about 20 years old. Yeah, so there's that one. I've got a few others. I can show you how the jersey's evolved. But this is there's the damage. You can see there if you look closely. There's the rips and tears of basically the fighting. But British ice hockey is known for line brawls and bench clearances and kicking the crap out of each other and beating the crap out of each other. But if you haven't already, you should do a video on that league and show the jerseys. The thing is, the leagues have evolved and changed names. So this is Super League, and I'll wait here a second. I'll show you how the jerseys evolved. Wait there. Okay. Right. So we shall begin. There we go. Got to get them in order. Okay. This jersey is of what? When was it made? Well, it was made in Scotland. It's Scottish. Right. So this one's about. This is over 20 years old. This is late 90s. Okay. Late 1990s. No adverts. Okay. This one, a few years later, now you can see the adverts, right? If you look closely, 15th anniversary, so this is half the age. This is 30 years old. This is the new one, and this was 15 years ago. What it looked like, funky design. And now you can see the supporters club, which helped save the team. And unfortunately, loads and loads of ads. And what's funny is, where I live, check out the subway. Right, we have a subway. We didn't have a subway in the town at the time. But there's that one. And this was 2016, 2017. So this is Super League's died. And this, if you look closely, that there was the league we were in, which was the EPL. Okay. And this is what the jersey looked like. That's our current logo, and this was just the old school logo. So we had changed our logo, and that thing meant to be a bee. It looks like a fucking hornet. He doesn't look happy. He's probably on meth. But yeah, so even more adverts. But funky logo. I love the logo. I love that logo. This is why it's Jersey Day, because I'm getting all my jerseys out. Beautiful logo. And here's the jersey now, as you can see. And actually, that's from all the 4 leagues we've been in. Let me just, right, this is from the NIHL. This is the current league we're in. This one is the EPL. So this is the 3rd league we were in, because the leagues keep changing names and structure. This one is the British National League. So this is the BNL. Forgot about that. And this one is from the Super League. So that's the 4 separate leagues we have been in since I've been supporting the team. That's 4 different leagues. That's how the jerseys. Oh, that one. Which one? This one. Yeah. Well, the thing was, 2 years before we wore this jersey, we had black and white stripes like that. And you will find videos of the team online where we're wearing the black and white, and they were made by Fila, and that's how I know how old all the jerseys are. So this one is pre-national champions. This is before we actually became the national champions. This one is after we were national champions. This one is when we were the worst team in the league, and we were absolutely abysmal, and we were bottom, and we were crap, and we only had 4 wins in the season. Yes, we had a real bad season. And this one is when we finished 5th, and we blew it in the playoffs against a weaker team, and we really screwed up. But yeah, that's all those jerseys. I have some other ones, but these are my local team, and yeah, this is the 30th. Yeah, no, the history goes back to 1987, which is 2 years before I was born, and I could do a video on the history, but there's a lot of research, and I would have to probably wear a layer of jersey, take it off, next history, take it off. But yeah, that's all my jersey collection, and I've been, as it is Jersey Day for Humboldt, and it is jerseys for Humboldt. Good for you, Ricky Gonzalez. I like it the most because it's different from my jersey. Same with the ones now, just shows me. The thing is, it is the lack of money in the sport in the UK. That is it. The national side are doing really well now, and the women's under 18s have just won their tier in the World Championships. They're tier 2, and they just won gold. And the men's team are trying to get into the top tier of men's ice hockey. So we it is what it is. But it is what it is. Let me just do that quick. Okay, but no, yeah, it is a shame that unfortunately, as time goes on, more and more ads get on the jerseys. But at the same time, without all these sponsors, the leagues will fold. The teams will cease to be, and it's a shame. But it's the way we've had to go to survive. The thing is, if the NHL was actually to help out European leagues, because they draft our best players like Patrick Laine and Jaromir Jagr, to name two European players from different generations, but from Europe who've gone over to play in the NHL. The NHL doesn't give anything back. It doesn't go, right, here's money to help develop your league, bring it up to a higher standard, because we're stuck between the KHL and the NHL and all the other European leagues of a good standard. We have some really good leagues in Europe, but, and I will say this is a very, very big but, there's a reason why we are where we are, for quality, player development, player retention. And the ads are the only way. I mean, but in Europe, we're used to advertising on sports jerseys. I know in North America, it's very, it's not common. Over here in Europe, sports jersey advertising, it's a thing. It's been a thing for about 30 years. We've grown used to it. Some countries have it more than others. Some leagues have it more than others. But it's here to stay, and that's what I'm a bit annoyed about sports. It's gone very, very corporate. But no, I have to go through, about 25 years worth of jersey history, and it charts. You can tell what league they're in by the amount of adverts. So the more adverts, the less money the league has. So the first one was the oldest one, Super League. The next oldest, British National League, which only lasted for a couple of years as the top tier. It was the league below, and then it became the main league, and that didn't last too long. Then it was the EPL, which my team did win, I think, twice. And then it's now National Ice Hockey League, NIHL. So what I'm wearing now. And you can see the ads go more and more and more as the money dries up. But I mean, the issue is North American sports, pro sports in North America, the jerseys are ad free, and for the most part. And when North Americans come over here, they do make reference to the amount of corporate sponsors and ad revenue and ads on the jerseys that we have. And some don't want it. I mean, I've seen the hockey guy and I've watched Shannon's videos, and he doesn't want. He's worried about with Adidas they're going to get the Adidas striping and then corporate logos. I don't think we're there yet. I really don't think we're there yet. But you've made some very interesting points and you've asked some very interesting questions. I might do a video on the British League evolving, but I don't know how popular it will be. But I'm more than happy to have a look at it and do a video and research it and look into the history, because we have some very historical teams over here in the UK. We have I think our oldest team dates from 1936. I think there's two teams from the 30s who still play now. We've got the Fife Flyers and the Whitley Bay Warriors. Both those teams have been going since the mid 30s. So I'm more than happy to look at the history of British ice hockey. I'm more than happy to do a video on that if you want me to. It will take a lot of research, and I'm going to have to get my thinking hat on and my pipe, and my smoking jacket, but I'm more than happy to do it. But no, you've asked a lot of interesting questions, and it's interesting that we follow the same channel in the Hockey Guy, and now you've ended up on my channel. How you found me, I have not a clue. But I appreciate the fact that you're engaging with me and you're asking me questions about, my view on the sport. My view on the sport is different would be from a European's perspective. The playoff format, personally, I think the top 16 teams in the league should just be put into a hat and drawn randomly, and then that's how you get your playoffs. And I think the same for the draft lottery. Just put all 31 teams in a bag, shake it up, and pull it out like that. Because people say Buffalo have been rebuilding for 10 years. Well, clearly the draft lottery has really helped them in Edmonton, because that's why they've been so awful for a decade. That's my view from a European's perspective. I would rather have the draft lottery completely random, and the playoffs, only the top half of the league or the top 16 get thrown into the playoffs, and then draw them out like we do with the English FA Cup over here. It's a random draw then. So you can't plan, okay, right, we're in the same division, same conference. Still have the divisions and conferences to work out who is the division champion, who is the conference champion. So at the end of the regular season, those teams can be given that piece of silverware. But when it comes to actually the postseason, throw them all in the pot. Make it completely random. Therefore, you cannot complain when you go, this team's had an easier route to the final, or we've missed out by a point because we were like Florida 1 point ahead Colorado, but they missed out. I think the top 16 teams, they're the ones who go to the playoffs. You throw them all in the pot, out it comes, and away you go. And when you mentioned earlier that they were planning to go to 40 teams, I think that would be complete and utter suicide for the league. The league will get too big. It will get difficult to govern the sport. Too many owners. That would be an issue. There'd be so many problems with having the league of 40. TV rights would be a pain in the arse to sort out. Where would you put? Well, what locations would you have all these teams? Would the cities be able to have support all the franchises? Would enough cities be able to support the franchises to keep all the franchises healthy? Because I would think a lot more teams would struggle than just a few teams that are struggling now, or have struggled now. It'd be a lot more teams would be really financially in trouble, because that would be insane. I don't think it would work. Whoever was thinking of that as a genius deserves to be sacked. I've heard rumours of after 32 they want to expand, but I think logically 32 is a very, very good number, because in the top half of the league goes to the playoffs and the bottom half miss out. It evens up the conferences and the divisions, and I think that's as far as expansion goes. Relocation, we have discussed it, but I think the most likely team to move is Ottawa, because Eugene Melnick is not the most stable ownership. Some of his decisions really make no sense, and they're struggling to draw now. And last year they were very successful. This year they weren't. The year before that they weren't successful. The year before that they got to the playoffs. They have no consistency as a team. And if Eric Carlson leaves, then I think the franchise will not be staying in Ottawa much longer. But you've raised some very interesting questions, and I think I've droned on long enough about what you've asked. So, but no, you give me some good video ideas. So yeah, what other questions have you got? What other topics do you want me to discuss? Because I'm more than happy to keep discussing ice hockey and British ice hockey, or the NHL, or international ice hockey, or what I feel on certain rule issues, or things like that. I'm also happy to discuss other sports. I'm very, very happy to discuss other sports as well. That's why the channel is what it is. We have covered almost every single sport we can think of. I mean, today, obviously, we've had the boxing news that Tyson Fury, the former British heavyweight, well, former world heavyweight boxing champion, is returning to boxing on the 9th of June. And that is an amazing comeback, considering that he was banned for 2 years for admitting to taking cocaine, and he hit the weight of 28 stone not that long ago. So for him to have got down to his healthy enough weight and to make the weight, whoever fights him is going to be a very interesting fight. But also you got like Conor McGregor and what he's done in New York, and the UFC 223, and making a complete and utter arse out of himself. That's all gone suspiciously quiet. And then you've had the cricket controversy with the Australian Test side, and what's gone on with that. And then you've had the cycling story of this one cyclist dying and another cyclist getting banned for doping. A lot has happened in the last 2-3 weeks. Really, a lot has happened in the last 2-3 weeks, and for me, as a YouTuber who covers every sport and tries to give it the time of day and give my viewpoint on it, it's been exceptionally interesting. And every question you guys have put forward and asked me, and all the topics we've talked about, some of them are really, really important, and some of them are random. And we've had some very random questions asked on my live streams, and I find some of them really, really funny. I find the people on the live stream, some of the questions you ask are really, really hilarious in a good way. And I find 99.9% of the people on this channel have been really, really good. We've had a couple of trolls, and they are, well, dealt with. But you guys make the live stream hilarious. And without you guys, this live stream doesn't work. Because it would either just be droning on and on and on and on about maybe a sport you're not interested in. So to have all these random questions about different sports constantly coming up and people putting their viewpoint forward and their ideas forward and the questions forward is brilliant. But no, it is what it is. But no, I will do a video on the history of British ice hockey at some point. I'll have to do a lot of research on that and read a lot of books and a lot of websites and really focus a lot of my energies on that. But that is going to be interesting, really, really interesting. But yeah, so any more questions? What else do you want me to talk about? Because I'm hoping to do this live stream for an extra hour than I did last night and the night before, and because I think the longest we've gone is like 2.5 hours. And I do apologise for the stream breaking up earlier as well. It's probably my internet, my end, not being great, and that's the thing that's been going on for a while. For me, we've had some internet connectivity issues, and my internet provider will be given a nice email saying we're not happy. Let's have a look, see what's happening in the other sport. So have a little look. Well, let's see what's going on in the old sports headlines then, if the internet wants to load, which I don't think it does. Oh, if you're following the Arsenal CSKA game, it's still 0-0, by the way. So if you're watching my live stream rather than that, it's 0-0. Nothing's really happened. Live score app is just up. Nah, internet doesn't want to cooperate. Why am I not surprised? Let's see what's going on here. What's all this activity? Right, happy Thursday, everyone. Oh no, one of my subscribers has just given me a link into what's happening with a British ice hockey team, the Edinburgh Capitals. They look like they could have run out of money and gone bust. So that answers why we have ads, is we don't have any money. But no, if anyone else got any other questions, because I'm really interested to hear what you guys have got to ask. And some of you guys have asked some brilliant questions, and Sean Avery, you basically kept going, or kept the stream getting interesting. And I've obviously had to relocate rooms due to unfortunate internet issues. So if the stream's breaking up, let us know if there's any issues with the stream, and we can try and rectify any issues we may have. But so far we've had some really interesting questions and thoughts. Let's see how the channel's doing. Let's see how my channel's doing. Let's go here. But yeah, I'm more than happy to. Oh, if you were asking about another, you were asking about Sean Avery. You were asking about any other ice hockey YouTubers. Odd Man Rush is a YouTuber I suggest you have a look at. He's British, but he does look at British ice hockey as well as the NHL. He will cover all sorts of ice hockey. He's quite good. And there's also a podcast called Banners on the Wall. They support a local ice hockey team in the UK called Basingstoke Bison. And they're quite interesting as well. And they're quite funny. And they get a lot of the players on their podcast, and they're really, really interesting. And they're good to listen to. So there's a fair few other YouTubers that I know that I could recommend for people to watch if you guys are interested. But no, it's been really interesting to hear what you guys have to say, and I'm happy to take any more questions, because otherwise I'll just be droning on and on. Any more questions from anyone? No? Any more questions? None? No more questions then. Really? We've only been going an hour and 17 minutes. But no, I would say that the live stream tonight has been really, really good, and we've had a lot of interesting discussions. Oh, stupid laptop. Why is that not working? Live chat. Aha! Participants, right, what is going on with my... Okay. Oh, what's going on with this live stream? Why are you not working? About chat. That's what we want. Right, okay. Okay, I've now yeah, no, I've just I've had to pop out the chat, so we're now moving the chat around, and it's... Oh no, it's just disappeared. Right, okay, I've now sort of got the chat working. I've had to do pop out chat, so we're gonna move that over there. I can now see the chat, so I can see your questions. I've hit pop out chat. The comment section, yeah, I think that's what was annoying me. I thought people weren't asking questions. I don't know why the live stream has done that. There's a lot. Oh my god, there's a lot of chat being missed. That is really annoying. That's annoyed me now because I've missed loads and loads and loads of your questions, which has really peed me off. It won't let me scroll. But let's have a look. Okay, now it's letting me scroll. Okay, that's good. Well, let's go through the questions that we've figured out we've missed. Right, this Ricky Gonzalez guy is going to get reported because he's been an absolute div. So we're going to get rid of him. Remove. God, I've managed to sort of get the remove. Oh, what is going on with this bloody thing? 70k more games. So I don't know if I'm in the last 42 minutes. Okay, I've seen your question where they said that they gained $70,000 in the last hour or so. That is insane how much they've raised in the short space of time. That it is. I'm going through the comments as best I can. I've had to do the pop out. Hide that. No one. Let's have a look. What else we've got? I haven't been able to catch any of the IPL. I can't find any streams that I don't have to pay for, which is really, really, really annoying. Let's keep going with the chat. I've had to pop the chat out so I can get it to work. What else have we got? Rangers Celtic, yeah. My supplier, yes. Well, in the UK, we have some really bad internet suppliers, and I think they're going to get a lovely, lovely message from me, and I'm probably going to give them a real load of abuse. Oddman Russia, he does more British ice hockey, but he'll give you an idea of the state of the game in this country and how seriously fans over here do take it, because we do have a very dedicated hockey fan base in this country. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, I've worked out how to get rid of the trolls. Right, let's restore the chat. No, it's not having it. I'm having to do. Oh God. Why is my chat not working? Right, pop out chat. Okay, we're doing it this way. For some reason, my chat is just not cooperating tonight. Okay, so we have hello Sajid, nice to see you. All messages, excellent. Okay, I've had to do the pop-out chat because for some reason the chat tonight has completely stopped working. So now I can see your questions. So you can keep questions coming in. I may not be able to see them, but I've got the pop-out chat. Yeah, I've hidden the trolls. I've had a few on my live streams. I don't get them normally on my videos. I get them on live stream, and for some reason they're always sexual perverts. So they're just annoying, and they're just there to annoy people. Crick free. I will check that out if I can. It all depends if my antivirus will allow it to run on my laptop, because I don't want to obviously have malware. So crick free. Okay. Thanks for that, Abdul. Sajid, hey, I didn't catch the match, but I'm from what I'm hearing from you guys in India, the IPL this year has just exploded and become really amazing. I think the reaction of Buffon to that penalty says it all. I think the referee has got that penalty decision wrong. But I think Buffon and the team's reaction was also unacceptable. But Buffon is normally a very calm, level-headed player. So, but you did leave yourself too much to do after the first leg. But to beat 3-0 up at the Bernabeu and be outplaying Real Madrid, there was, for me as a football fan, seeing both Barcelona and Real Madrid lose the second legs in the way they did and how badly both teams played, something is a bit amiss with those two teams that is a bit suspicious for me. I don't want to be a well, I did mention last night that I thought match fixing could be involved in one or both of the Roma and Juventus ties, because Roma, that's just me personally, and I've lived in Italy, so I know what match fixing is all about because I've lived there, and I remember the 2006 match fixing scandal. And for me, Italian football has never recovered from 2006, and there's still rumblings going on. The Asian Games is another thing that is just completely match fixed and spot fixed. I've watched documentaries on that. That's just going to be fun to watch because you know who's going to win. Yeah, no, there's a lot going on this year. There's a lot going on sports-wise, and it's very interesting. Now I've sort of got the pop-out chat to work, I can see all your questions, because before I couldn't see anything on the standard chat because YouTube has had a technical failure and a brain fart. But no, you guys always, I mean, I will say this. Buffon does know when spot fixing goes on because he's done it himself. But no, the Italian Football League has never recovered from the events of 2006. Never ever recovered, and it Serie A now is not the league it was 10, 20 years ago. It's completely different. The big superstars don't play there anymore. There are one or two play there, but most of them end up, when they're seen they're developing, they get picked up to another league, and then they develop at a different league. So, but we've got the World Cup coming up, for Football World Cup, in 2 months. And that's going to be an interesting tournament, because for me, I'll be very surprised if Russia fail to get out of their group, even though they're the worst team there, but we shall see. Right, so I've sort of got the chat working. Yeah, there's reasons why Italy are not in the World Cup. There's many reasons, partly to do with the decline of the domestic competition in the Serie A, partly to do with the aftermath of the match fixing. A lot of people are starting to turn their back on football. There's issues with hooligans, ultras, and the style of play Italy played, they need to really find some young players. And they're starting to sort of find some of these young players now. But it's going to take a bit of time. But given the right tools and getting the team going in the right direction, and getting a lot of youth and a bit of experience mixed together, I think they can rebuild. And the Dutch missed out as well. So two very, very good European sides that are very good at World Cups are not there this year. Why do you think picks up that? No, it actually encourages tanking. I think the draft lottery should be a pure 100% lottery. As I said earlier, you take the top 16, they go into the playoffs. It doesn't matter what conference they're in. The conferences and divisions are for division title and conference title. That's one thing in the regular season. Post-season, the top 16 get put in the Stanley Cup, at which point you pull out random stuff. But here's the thing. Buffalo and Edmonton have been bottom feeders for a decade, pretty much. Edmonton's got to the playoffs once. I think the draft lottery needs to be a pure 100% lottery, in my eyes. But I'm talking from a European standpoint. You're coming from a North American standpoint. No one fan base, no one group of fans is going to 100% agree with what the best foot forward is for the NHL. And there's a lot of questions coming at the same time. So, Sean, I understand what you're saying, but Buffalo, they changed the rules because Buffalo tanked to try and get McDavid, and they ended up with Jack Eichel. And it was so obvious they were not even trying well before the trade deadline. That season they just stopped playing. Toronto did to get Austin Matthews. It's actually kind of embarrassing when teams don't put the effort in or are not playing as well as they could do. And as soon as Edmonton and Buffalo kept tanking, and it was really embarrassing and cringeworthy. And of course, Edmonton have missed the playoffs again, and they're in the draft lottery. France, yes, they do have a good chance of winning the World Cup. They have a lot of depth players now when it comes to the World Cup. Chile, they missed out again because the same reasons Italy missed out and Holland missed out. Aging team, iffy tactics, and they needed to inject fresh blood into their national sides. But for me, that if something is a lottery, it should be 100% random. You just put the balls in the hat and you pull them out in the order of drafting bottom to drafting first. That's how I would do it, but that's me from a European perspective. I understand. Either way, the teams that don't make the playoffs, which will soon be Seattle, that'll be 16. But the Penguins were crap for years. And then they got McDavid and Malkin 2 years in a row. Not McDavid, they got Crosby and Malkin 2 years in a row, and done that. Basically changed the complexion of Pittsburgh. If they didn't get Crosby, they would be having to trade for a player of Crosby's ilk. And even with Crosby, they haven't been good all the time. But yeah, the 15 teams that miss out, put them in randomly. Yeah. Or the 16 teams when Seattle joins, yeah. If half the league is is going to make the playoffs. Half the teams have the right to draft. I think that will completely get rid of tanking. If you miss the playoffs, every team has an equal chance of complete randomness of 1 in 16 or 1 in 15 at the moment of drafting first. They won't tank because it'd be too much of a risk to tank, finish near the bottom, and not get the player. Over here in Europe, your league finishing position is how much prize money you get out of the TV contract and out of the Football Association in the football, and the same in the rugby for the RFU. If they were also to put prize money for league finishing position as well, that might stop teams from tanking also. But that's again a European perspective from me. I know in North America, it's a different way of doing things, but it's an idea to think about. The best sports are the ones that look at other sports and talk to other sports and how other sports do it and evolve things. But in North America, you don't. No, for me, it would have to be 100% random because Buffalo and Edmonton have constantly get top draft picks and then they ruin the players. Noel Yakupov hasn't developed into the player he should have been. Taylor Hall has had to move on and is now finally developing. And it's difficult, but Buffalo have had all these draft picks like Evander Kane. They traded for Evander Kane. We as Jets fans, we hate Evander Kane. He's a cancer in the locker room. And he's a great goal scorer, but he's an absolute arsehole. And they made him worse. So there's got to be something also to do with scouting and youth development. And over here in the UK, this team, every ice hockey team in the UK has a youth team attached to it where they develop their own players in-house locally. So the local lads will play for the local team. And we bring up the local youth that way. Obviously, you do the AHL, ECHL, and then you do the draft system. We don't. We literally start youth development through the club up to the senior team. So that's the difference between Europe and North America. DRS. I'm not 100% against it. I'm not 100% for it. It does need a little bit of tweaking DRS, but at the moment, I'm okay with it as long as it's used appropriately and effectively. Favorite family player dynasty in any sport? Bobby and Brett Hull in ice hockey. Like father, like son. DRS as well. It depends how the DRS is used. If it's pitching outside the line and it's an LBW decision, it can go either way. Sticker meter, again, that noise could be the thigh pad, the arm guard, the back leg. It's there for a reason. It's there to aid the game. Of course, no decision, no game evolution is going to be 100%. So every time a system like this is put in any sport, it does for a while cause controversy. The thing is, LBWs, it's an interesting thing because leg before wicket is a very interesting decision to talk about and how our views differ on it. I'm not 100% against DRS, but at the same time, I'm not 100% for it. It needs to be fine-tuned. And they need to work out, okay, what is LBW? Does it involve where the ball pitches? Because if it's going to go on a hit and it's an in-swinger or an out-swinger and it's pitched and it's going to go smash the stumps out, just common sense. They need to look at the LBW ruling. And when it comes to controversial decisions like edging, or has he gloved it on, or is it just flicked a bit of clothing, that's interesting. Sean, let's look at these draft picks. Top 10, first, top 10, top 3, first, top 3. This is the issue when one team is basically constantly taking the best young players and then not developing them, because then this damages the sport long term, because when they have to trade them, Taylor Hall has gone on to be very, very good at, that is quite funny. And even the Islanders can't win with that either. The Islanders have got worse. The issue with, I think the draft lottery should be 100% random, and there shouldn't be percentage chance. That will definitely stop tanking, and therefore, look at Colorado this year. Last year they were the worst team in the league, and now they made the playoffs and they didn't draft first. There you go. yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on. The Islanders have their own problems, and it's to do with the Barclays Centre and the off-ice issues there. I did a video on which team I think is going to move. I did a video on this, I think, yesterday, the chances of the NHL moving any teams. And I basically said my most likely option would be Ottawa, because Eugene Melnick is that kind of maverick owner who, if in a pick of rage and in a fit of rage, he will try and move the team. Yes, third umpires, yes. Is this the same conversation we're having with VAR? Any kind of video assistant referee or any kind of tech that's used to help officiate a game, it needs to be as quick and as clear as possible. Ice hockey's having the issue in the NHL with goalie interference and things like that. Cricket's having the issue with the third umpire taking sometimes too long. Rugby's having sometimes the issue with the video ref sometimes getting it wrong, as we saw in the Six Nations, and football with VAR. Lots of sports are using video refs right now, and sometimes they're not getting it right. And for me, it's there to aid, make the aid useful. I'm still for the third umpire. It's a very useful thing to have, especially when you've got run-out decisions or stumping decisions where the foot is in and out the crease. That is vital. But yes, definitely for me. But again, some fans don't mind the length of time as long as the decision is correct. And there's been a lot of decisions used through video refs in various sports where they just get it wrong. Ryan Hartson, Stromsky bust because they go to bad teams and then they're not developed properly. And that's again to do with scouting for those who do, pick them up, be it free agents or drafting, and then developing them. Whether it's the mindset of the players going, I want to be in the NHL, and they're not ready, and they should play in the AHL or ECHL and develop their game in the minor affiliates. I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's a very interesting how the Reinhardts and the Stromes do keep, I wouldn't say busting, but not reaching their peak potential. To get to the NHL and play one game, you still have to be a damn good player. And when the last two lockouts happened in the NHL, over here in the UK, we did have NHL players playing in British ice hockey when they were still under contract to the NHL, and we were very, very honoured to have them playing on our teams, even if it was only for a few games or a whole season. We were very, very honoured to have these talented players improve the quality of our own players by their standards that they had and the work ethic they had, even if they were. Oh yeah, I honestly, I've seen you a lot on the THG's channel, and I thought you was actually the real Sean Avery. I thought, really, I've slagged this guy off. Oh, I'm not a big fan of the Sean Avery, the real Sean Avery, because I find him, I want to strangle him. But you are very, very intelligent. You know your sport, you know your ice hockey. You're very passionate about it. The NRL has, I think, got the best out of the video ref and the rugby league. Same in the Super League. So rugby league has, I think, worked the video referee the best. Rugby union is close behind, and then other sports need to really catch up. Rugby union and rugby league use the video refs more effectively. Rugby union takes longer though, but that's an even more complex sport than rugby league because there's more bodies on the pitch and the way and the ruck and ball area is different. But other sports can learn from the speed at which the decisions are made in the two kinds of rugby. Tyson Fury, right? Tyson Fury, I did a video on it earlier today, just after the news broke. Bearing in mind, he didn't get caught doing cocaine. He admitted straight away, I'm having issues with mental health. Firstly, that gives, I suddenly have respect for this guy. Not that I'm a big fan of his, but to admit and talk about mental health, which is a very hard thing to talk about, fair play to him. And then he admitted straight up, I have an issue with drugs. And I've been there myself as a person in my life, being an addict in the past. So I completely understand where he's coming from. And he's taken his 2 years off with pride. He's not like hidden away from the world. He's trained hard. He's lost a lot of weight to get fit again. He's feeling as fit as he ever has done, and I think you can tell that. He's much more calm now in his interviews. You go into the BBC, and he was not as outspoken as he was before he stopped boxing. So he's in a better mindset, so therefore he's calmer. He comes across differently, in a better light. And I hope whoever he fights gives him a good challenge. And if he loses, he loses because he's been out of the game for a long time. But for him to even step back in the ring is a big thing, and for him to have redemption, I think he's one of the few guys, because he is still a bit overweight, but he's gone from 28 stone to just under 20, so he's managed to shift 9 stone in 3 months. That is not bad going. But he hasn't shied away from the fact that he had problems, and he was more open than other sportsmen in tackling those issues. But what scares me is he's not the first boxer in my lifetime to say mental health issues and drug problems. And I can give several examples. Frank Bruno with mental health, very famous one. He had a nervous breakdown, diagnosed with bipolar. Joe Calzaghe and one second. Joe Calzaghe and Ricky Hatton, cocaine. They again admitted to it. Right, let me just go through some of these questions. Some of these questions come through quite quickly. We are having issues with the chat tonight. The chat seemed to have crashed, which is unfortunate. I've had to get the pop-up chat on my screen, so not everyone can see what's been put up in the chat, which is really, really annoying. So if you bear with me. Talking about rugby, how bad England were. I did a video on that, and it's on my channel, and it's in my Rugby Union playlist. And I review the whole Six Nations, and I review every match as possible. I missed a couple of matches because I couldn't watch them because I was watching my ice hockey team play. But I basically watched most of the matches in the Six Nations, and I don't hold back with my preview was different to my review. I was very, very I was disappointed in England because I thought they would challenge Ireland more when they didn't. They were useless against Ireland. I said Ireland would always be my dark horse. I actually tipped them to win from the beginning. I had some Welsh fans who decided to get really abusive on the channel because I felt that the Welsh weren't playing at their best, and they weren't. I had some Scottish fans who weren't very happy with the fact I spoke about Scotland having issues, which they still have. But England, the issues are in the leadership group. I don't think Dylan Hartley is the captain, or Owen Farrell. They're not the right people to be captain. You need to find someone else who can lead that side, who can last 80 minutes or not get sent off. I think fly half is an issue. I don't know why Toby Flood isn't getting a recall, because he's playing really well at Newcastle right now, and he is an experienced player, and he'll be a calming influence on this side. Mike Brown's past his best. Joe Marler keeps getting in trouble, keeps getting cited for various stupid incidents. And Chris Robshaw, I don't even know what his position is. Is he a blind side? Is he an open side? Is he a number 8? He's a mixture of all three. You can't really have part of a blind side, part of an open side, part of a number 8 position. He is very great at the loose, but he's at times, but it makes no sense because he hasn't defined a role for himself. And he's an ex-captain, which means another voice on the field you don't need. I'm surprised more Exeter players haven't been called up into the squad, because they're top of the rugby Premiership, and therefore you would think that they should get more recognition, and they don't. And it's the same with Newcastle. Is it because they're unfashionable clubs and they're not like the hardcore Northampton Saints, Harlequins, Leicester, Gloucester type backbone? I think Eddie Jones doesn't have an attack coach. Eddie Jones is a good coach, but there's a reason why he's won a World Cup as an assistant coach with South Africa, and why he's taken Australia to the final in 2003, and why he improved Japan to basically the edge of Tier 1 status. He's not a bad coach. But for some reason, the last 18 months, he's done a lot of this trash talking. If you're going to trash talk the opposition, make sure you're beaten by 40 points in rugby. Seriously, if you're gonna trash talk them, make sure you beat the fuckers. You can't do that. Keep your gob shut. Focus on coaching your team. He doesn't have a dedicated attack coach, and he may need to have some fresh voices in that locker room, that dressing room. Sean, I'll get onto the NHL jerseys in a minute, because rugby is going to get really interesting, and you might be interested in my views on this if you are. The same thing applies with Wales, and the same thing applies with Scotland. Ireland's a different kettle. Ireland are so far ahead of the rest of the Six Nations. It is unbelievable. It is embarrassing. Ireland are that far ahead in getting young players into the national squad early and giving them experience before a World Cup. So they're rotating positions around, and they're blooding these players in the right circumstances, giving them the right amount of game time, and developing them at a pace that suits the player, not what suits the national side. If the player is not quite ready, they hold them back another season and work with their province. I think international selection policy Oh yeah, Schmidt's brilliant, very underrated. I think he's completely underrated. Eddie Jones is a damn good coach. He's just had a very sticky patch. Every coach and every team goes. Even the All Blacks have had issues in the past. Just because they're the world's best team for the last 10 years does not mean they haven't blown up. Before 2011, they couldn't win in the World Cup in the knockouts. They get to the knockout stages and they would crash and burn. They didn't win for a very long time in the World Cup. They didn't win in the World Cup from 87 till 2011. They could not lift that trophy. They choked. The Irish are the best team behind them right now. And I think they're the only team that can challenge the All Blacks come next year, because I don't think they've peaked yet. I think there is still time for them to improve. There is still time for them to get these young players a bit more game time this summer, this autumn, in the next Six Nations. I will say this about England. It is good these mistakes have happened in this Six Nations, not next year. If they happen next year, World Cup will be a disaster. They've happened now, which is the right time. Mario Tejo is looking very, very tired. Courtney Laws is playing for a Northampton Saints side that is struggling. And they played him on the flank when he's a second row. That made no sense to me. Billy Villapona can't stay fit. In fact, a lot of the players can't stay fit. Billy Twelvetrees for Gloucester, he's now the club captain. He's now in a leadership position. Why is he not being selected? Is it because he doesn't have the all-round pace? Is it because he's more of a tackling centre? Explain that one to me. Ben Teo is not a rugby union international centre. He is abysmal. Defensively, he's all over the place. He doesn't have the pace. You can get around him. He's there like he's a roadblock. You can just go around a roadblock. You can't go through him. You can go around him very easily. And Matthew Bastareaud proved that that a big man can be mobile if he loses a bit of weight and really works on his game. And Ben Teo hasn't, because he can't stay fit enough either. But Joel Schmidt, he could do it. Depends on what direction the All Blacks want to go down and how this World Cup goes. If he wins with Ireland, he might stay with Ireland and say this isn't finished. Or if they get really far, he might go, I want to keep working with Ireland. And I think the Irish want to keep him as long as possible until they need to go through a rebuild phase. Because every national side will go, right, this is our best group of players for a generation, and then they'll go through a lull and then pick it up again. Scotland are trying new things. Wales, I think Warren Gatland's overstayed his welcome in Wales. I think he needs to go. He's got a great record, but some of his decisions baffle me, and some of his team selections baffle me. And Warren Gatland is not necessarily the most popular coach with the media either. I don't know if Warren Gatland is well liked. He's respected, but is he well liked by other coaches and other people in the sport? That's an interesting one. County cricket. I think IPL was more exciting, but county cricket is where you really test your status as a test player. IPL is where you show off and you flick the ball around and you bowl some crazy bounces and you do the crazy shot selection. But I think county cricket is a different kind of test, and it's first class, and it's 4 days. So it's a day shorter than a test match, but it does give players a step in between the 1 day and T20, the short formats, and Test cricket. And that's the best way to test yourself if you're ready for Test cricket, is to prove yourself in county cricket, because you play on Test grounds. Yes, Gatland did coach Ireland for a while, and it was he was only there a short time, which I find very, very interesting. I remember when Gatland coached Ireland, he wasn't there very, very long, and that Irish side, that was sowing the seeds of the. That's when I think it was when O'Driscoll and O'Gara and Stringer were in their infancy phase, when they were young players. I think he was there at the time. These players were breaking through in their provincial sides and getting noticed for what they were doing provincially. But he didn't stick at Ireland very long. He really didn't. And then Wales picked him up, and he's been there for over a decade. And Wales, he's had a few hit and miss seasons, and other seasons he's been very, very good. But it's very interesting why he fell out, because I don't know why he fell out. All I know is he wasn't there very long, and he was there and then he was gone. And Ireland, since he has gone, have become more competitive, surprisingly. Ireland have been more competitive and have really worked on their youth development and their squad development and their squad depth more since he was there. So whether he laid the foundations of what was there, or he disagreed on how to lay the foundations, and then Irish Rugby and the Irish RFU, the Irish Rugby Football Union, decided this is the direction we want to go down. The direction they've gone down has worked very, very well, very, very well. They won the Six Nations multiple times and got 2 Grand Slams out of it. So I think the direction that Ireland have gone down is working. At the end of the day, it is what it is. They may have had different viewpoints on how the structure of Irish rugby should have gone, but then Eddie O'Sullivan, I believe, took over as Ireland coach for a while. Now I don't think he had much success either. But the foundations that were being laid at this point is why we've got a good Irish side and some 4 good Irish provinces now. But even back then, Ireland had some very, very good players. But a lot of the Irish players came over to England and France to play. Now, most of the good Irish players are staying in Ireland. So the foundations of strengthening the provinces, making the provinces competitive, like Leinster and Munster doing really well in Europe and being powerhouses in European rugby. Ulster have obviously won the European title as well. And now Connacht is... Now players now want to go to Connacht as well. Before it was just a backwater where rugby was a secondary sport to Gaelic amateur association sports. So with that, the foundations of Irish rugby now happened after the Gatland O'Sullivan eras, because they didn't last very long. And whether the federation decided we've had enough of you guys, you're leading Ireland in a bad direction, because what's happened since their little feudy, crappy era, Ireland rugby's kicked on. They've had Declan Kidney and Joel Schmidt, and I think a few other coaches in there, but the coaches they've had have stuck to the same basic style of play, the same principles. They've strengthened the provincial game to the point where now all 4 provinces are competitive, because Connacht suddenly, in the last 5 years, gone straight to the top of what is now the Pro 14. They have won it. And they're now developing players as well. Before, it was a bit more difficult for those players to develop. When it comes to centralised contracts and national selection, I don't always agree with you can't select players from abroad, depending how many caps they have. I think that is a flawed system. Yes, keep your core players on the national contracts, provincial club contracts, where they share the cost, of course. But there are some great Irish, English, Welsh, Scottish players who played in France, for example, who can't get selected. Well, the Scots can, and the Italians can. But let's talk about Ireland and Wales, because they brought in these. You have to play in the country, and the same with England. In the last 10 years, a lot of good British, English, Welsh, and Irish players have played in France. And the selection policy, I think, is flawed, because some of the best and talented players can earn more money playing in France than they would even on the dual contract between the governing body and the club. And but Simon Zebo's decided to play in France. He's been dropped from selection from the Irish squad. They said he's not part of our plans because he's playing in France. And I think that is wrong. Simon Zebo is an exceptionally talented back 3 player. And that is really... it's annoying that he's decided to go to France, because I think the quality level is actually falling, because they're not developing enough good young players, and they get these mercenary players who've done their stint of their national side and have fallen out of favour, and then yes, they're changing. I think Ireland are now starting to change the policy more, because less and less Irish players are now playing in France, and they're coming back to Ireland, which means I think the provinces are getting stronger, and I think. But Sexton's time in France wasn't a happy one either. He was injured a lot of the time, and his form had dropped. He's playing better now that he's back in Ireland. What domestic rugby team do I support? I support Exeter Chiefs. And I also live not too far from the Badesky, so I like London Irish as well, but they're not a good team anymore. And they haven't been a good team for a long time. Although a friend of mine has played for London Irish. He now plays for Bath. It'd be interesting, because it will put the Irish Federation in a very catch-22, because they're trying to encourage as many Irish players to stay. But if Murray or Sexton or now it's Simon Zebo, he's leaving Munster, and he's out of favour with the national side for some reason. So if they don't select Simon Zebo but they select Sexton, that's giving a mixed message saying, okay, you're a good player, but he's also a good player, but he's more central to our plans than you. I think the best players should play for their country regardless where they play. But that's me coming from more of a football support background when I was a kid and things like that. But I do think there is a salary cap put in place now in rugby union, which is encouraging more players to stay in the country of origin, which is sort of having a positive effect and a negative effect in a sense. Zeba hasn't really performed for Ireland though. When I've seen him play, for Munster, he plays exceptionally well. When he plays for Ireland, for some reason, it doesn't work as well for him, and that's interesting. Very, very interesting. When he plays for his province, he's brilliant. When he plays for his country, he's not so good. I don't know why that is. Whether it's the style of rugby played, whether it's he's playing on the wrong wing or he wants to play fullback more. But with the amount of young Irish backs like coming through, like Larmour, and who was the other one? There's another one who's had a really good Six Nations. Oh, that's going to annoy me now. And you've got that young fly half coming through, Carberry. When you've got all these young backs coming through from 9 through to 15, he's got to up his game, and he's decided to go to France, and I think that could be a problem for him. Because I would be very surprised if the Irish do start to do what the Welsh have done, and the English, and say you've got to play in Ireland, and I think that is a dangerous precedent to set, because South Africans you don't have to play in South Africa anymore. Australians, you can get the exemption if you've played so many games, and the Aussies need as many good players as possible. Most of their good players are playing in Europe now. They're leaving Super Rugby because the Western Force is gone as a team, and the Aussies aren't very happy with the Super Rugby organisers because they've lost the Western Force, and a lot of Aussies are now coming over to Europe to play. South Africa, 2 of their teams have left Super Rugby, and they refused, and South Africa are getting annoyed with Super Rugby. Super Rugby is geared towards New Zealand. It's heavily biased towards New Zealand, and so is international rugby because of the refereeing standard as well. My top 4 teams for World Cup, I think. That's an interesting one. I think Brazil will do better than people think. I think they want to redeem themselves from 4 years ago when it was a disaster. So let's have a quick look at this. There's several questions that come through very quickly, so I'm going to answer the football one first. I don't know if your chat is working, guys, but I've just had 3 questions coming at exactly the same time, so I'm going to go through them as quick as I can. I think Belgium, Germany, it's getting difficult now, France, and I think either Brazil or Uruguay, I think will be my top 4. So Brazil, Uruguay is, if a South American team can do well, it'll be one of those 2, and those other 3 nations as well. I wasn't surprised it was going to be an NIHL tournament, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Elite League does try and prop up the capitals until they can find a solution and find a buyer, because they've just expanded the league and they want to keep growing ice hockey in the UK. And if they were because they want to keep growing the game, basically. The Australians, now my mate Max Laheath, he plays for Bath. He used to play for London Irish. I went to school with him. He went over to Melbourne Rebels. When the Melbourne Rebels started up as a team, he went over there to try and get into the Australian World Cup team for 2011 because the English had overlooked him. He's a prop. Okay, he'd been overlooked by the English RFU and he wasn't getting selected. So as he's got an Australian dad, he went to play in Australia in Super Rugby. The Melbourne Rebels didn't use him correctly, and Australian scrums are very, very weak. He's a very good scrummager, and he wasn't properly used at Melbourne, so he came back and he signed for Bath, and he hasn't looked back on his career. His career's going really well. Because of issues with Australian Rugby Union being the poorer cousin to Rugby League and Aussie rules out there, they're not keeping the players. A lot of the NRL teams are finding Rugby Union players at youth level and going, we can offer you more money. You're more likely to get game time.
we can develop you quicker, and you're more likely to play for your country if you're playing in the NRL than playing for an Australian Super Rugby franchise. So rugby union in Australia is losing players, and it's declining in quality, and that is a worry. And players like Israel Folau, who played the 3 codes, they need more of them. Yeah, I could mention that British ice hockey, we won the Olympic gold in '36, which was the Nazi Olympic Games in Kitzbühel, I believe, or where was it? Well, it was in the Bavarian Alps. It was after the Summer Olympics, obviously. Yes, we did win the Olympic gold in 1936. And I'll be happy to do a history of my lifetime. I'm not going to talk about ice hockey I haven't seen, because I've only been watching it since 1992. So for me, I'd have to do a history of British ice hockey from 92, 93 onwards. And I'm going to focus on the Super League, the British National League, the English Premier League and the Elite League, and what's happened in the last 18 months is the English Premier League is gone, and the NIHL, which is what Casey, another little subscriber here who's a hockey fan, who's local to me as well. He only lives 30 odd miles down the road from me. It is interesting. I will do my best. I'll do a history of British ice hockey from 1992, and I'll be happy to do it. And if you are happy to share and comment and give your views, I'm more than happy. So we can do that. And I'm going to have to do my research, and I'm going to have to look into several leagues now, which is really, really fun. I'm going to have to go on Elite Prospects, and I'm going to have to go on all sorts. But I will do my best on that, Sean. Okay, the Australian Rugby Union are having their issues. They're money strapped, and they're losing players to the NRL. England will be lucky to get out of the group, and I'm being serious. I really think England will be very lucky to get out of the group. Harry came up to goal. Yes, he did, and he's trying to go for golden boot. And to be fair, I don't understand that. Salah's not happy. A lot of football fans on Twitter have gone mad, and they're not happy. So it's a very controversial thing. I'm not a fan of Harry Kane anyway, but some people are. I do think the England system doesn't work for Harry Kane either. It works for Jamie Vardy. Now, if England had Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy, and Marcus Rashford working as a front 3, then we can be effective. But Southgate won't do that, because Southgate is far too conservative in his management, and I don't think he's got the balls to make a controversial decision like that. Hello, Dark Nightmare. If you've just joined me, having a few issues with the chat, so I've got the live chat on pop out, so I'm looking over. I can see it a bit better anyway. We're having a few issues with the chat tonight, so I will try and answer your questions as best I can. I think if you're going to have Harry Kane up front, he needs. I think we don't have one, basically. Gareth Southgate has not settled on a captain. It's either Henderson, Kane. I think Vardy should possibly get it for his experience. It's gone between Kane, Henderson's worn it, Vardy's worn it once. He wore it the other night. We keep rotating it around, and I think that's stupid. Give it to one of the senior players. So that'll be Ashley Young, Jamie Vardy, or whatever goalkeeper's in goal. Harry Kane is not leadership material for me. And if you watched him 2 years ago, it is what it is. Right, okay. Let's have a look at what we've got here. England captain, we don't have one. Costa Rica, they could do. Costa Rica, I've got some it's Latin America, and Latin America breeds brilliant football players with good technical skill. And their work ethic is much higher than the European side. They work for each other because they're lacking that little bit of star quality, but their technical skills are brilliant. Their teamwork, their team ethic is brilliant. I do think, yes, they can do well. I think they can do as good. And a lot of Costa Ricans do play in Europe, so they'll be used to the European conditions, and I think they could. IPL. The thing is, the ECB didn't allow English players to play in the IPL until 4 or 5 years after the IPL had started, at which point a lot of British cricketers missed out on playing in the IPL. But now we've got our own T20 competition here in England. They're all around the world. IPL is the leading force in T20. It's not hurting the country as such, but I think there are still things that the game can improve on. and the sport in general. And there's a lot of things. So we'll have to see how each individual test playing side adapts to T20 as well, and the day-night test match, and there's other issues that cricket have to deal with. But I think it is helping certain English players, and others aren't as suited to it, and they give it a go and they're not as suited to it, and it actually affects their confidence. But it's a win and lose. Right, let's go through this. Top players for Golden Boot. I think Messi will be up there, Ronaldo, Neymar, and maybe Griezmann for France. I think he could be up there as well. I saw the aftermath of it. I was doing a live stream last night, and my live stream went nuts, and we discussed it. I've seen the aftermath of it, and looking at the reaction of the Juventus players, it is a bad decision to give the penalty. The fact that they overacted, that is something that football needs to sort out. Football, for some reason, the referee gets abused a lot, whereas rugby union, rugby league, ice hockey, cricket, there's more respect for the officials from the players. Football needs to learn from that, because that was a very bad reaction to the decision. But that's where VAR should be used, and that would have been a different decision. But it's European football, and players tend to dive, and that's the problem. Yeah, the more you go watch football in Europe, they dive so much, it is embarrassing, and it's one of the reasons why I'm not watching football as much as I was 10 years ago. I find it so embarrassing that I've paid X amount of money to watch this game in the stadium or on TV. I switch off. As soon as there's lots of diving in a game, I will go on Twitter and I go, diving, I thought I was watching football. It appears I'm watching the Olympic Games. I will make jokes like that on my Twitter feed or on my Facebook, and I really dig in. And I hate diving in football. I hate embellishment. If you do that in ice hockey or rugby, you are made to look a fool, and you will probably get hounded out. You will probably be given a load of verbals by your coach, and you might get dropped. Football, they encourage you to do it. Atlanta, no, I don't think the NHL goes back to Atlanta. I know it's a bit of a joke you put in there because they turn into Canadian teams. I know this, but they have track history of going to Atlanta and then they go to Canada after about 10, 12 years. I don't think Atlanta will ever get a franchise move from the NHL again. At least not while Gary Bettman is in charge. It's not because the fans won't turn up and support. It's because the way the league dealt with it the previous two times, especially the Thrashers, the Flames, same owners. They just moved the team because they needed a fresh start. But the Thrashers, Jesus Christ, the league completely mismanaged the expansion. They completely mismanaged with the owners, the whole running of the team, and there was lots of things off the ice that went wrong, but the fans turned up and the fans turned up and the fans turned up, and they actually drew higher than most people realise. Yes, Neymar does party far too much. That's an issue with overpaid football players. Overpaid sportsmen tend to party too much, and they're not as humble as they could be. This is why I like, as you can see, I'm wearing my ice hockey jersey. This team is semi-pro. I know some of the team players. I've met some of the players and spoke to them. They are so humble because they're not paid a lot. Neymar is an arrogant, overpaid, petulant shyster. That's my version. That's my opinion of Neymar. Very skillful, but he's a wanker. Do I use Twitter? Yes. Every time I share it, I make a video, it automatically links it to my Twitter account. Every time I like a video, it automatically links it to my Twitter account. So I've gained, I think, 4 subscribers through Twitter because they found my videos on my Twitter feed that other people had shared. So I do use Twitter daily. I'm on there every day. Atlanta doesn't get a third chance, at least not while Bettman is in charge, because he was the one who pushed this southern US expansion and was really driving force of relocating and expanding in the south. That's why they won't move Arizona. That's why Carolina's going to stay for a minimum of another 7 years. And that's why Florida won't get moved from Miami, because it will look like it will be a PR disaster for the league. No, it was Ted Turner. Ted Turner owned the Thrashers at one point as well, and he used to own AOL. Yeah, look what happened to AOL. Yes, I do agree, Abdul, that rugby is a game where you spend 80 minutes pretending you're not hurt, and football is a game where you spend 90 minutes pretending you've been shot. Ice hockey, it's you're on skates and you've got to do it for an hour, and you're hurting from the minute one to literally you had your teeth knocked out. The ownership of the Atlanta Thrashers, you had 3 different ownership groups in the entire time. Ted Turner was one, the CNN Corporation, I think it could be Ted Turner has shares in that as well. And there was another corporate group who were involved. It was so unstable, but the fans kept turning up. So Atlanta would work because it's a sports mad city and it's had an Olympic Games. It's got some other great sports teams in there. It's got a new MLS team that's come in that's done really well. It's got an American football team. It's, I believe, got basketball. It seems to support sport. It's just the league has mishandled it and the ownership mishandled it. And I don't think the league wants to get back and get burned a third time. Do I like Donald Trump? I find the guy a moron, but he's funny. But I'm also deeply concerned because he's sending warships to the Gulf and they could be bombing Syria tonight, and we might have a nuclear holocaust by tomorrow morning. Donald Trump is a very unpredictable person. He's a very unpredictable entity, and it's a dangerous thing being that unpredictable because people's lives are at stake. And I've got friends who are in the Navy and the British Army, and I'm deeply concerned about them being sent out to a war they shouldn't be sent out to, and coming home in body bags. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. I've got friends who are in the British Armed Forces right now who could be sent out to the Gulf, whose lives could be put at risk because of his decision to decide to carpet bomb Syria if he decides to. Because, yes, there's been a chemical attack, but here's the thing. The whole Syria situation, I know this is completely off sport, but it does risk wider world peace. And sport is something that could bring world peace. And I'm deeply concerned about Donald Trump. But that's an interesting question. It's not sports related. Very interesting. But no, a lot of good questions. I've sort of got the chat working. So we've had a lot of good questions. And you guys have got a great intelligence about the sport. I mean, we talk about how many sports do we talk about on this channel? How many? 10, 20 different sports? Every one of you has got some great intelligence and great insights on the sports you like and sports that you may never mention before, and you suddenly mention, I like this. That is brilliant. If Trump bombs himself, I'll be hitting up my popcorn with a gun in my hand, hoping for some alien to take me because I don't want to live on this planet. Personally, I don't know if this is a Canadian joke or if it's a Canadian saying, but I've heard this saying: we have the guns, but we don't shoot the people, we shoot moose. Now, I'm assuming that's a Canadian saying we don't shoot each other, we shoot wild animals. The issue is twofold. There's a lot going on in America right now, and sport is a good social microcosm. You can see what a country is going through its sports fan bases and how they react. And you had the Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and that split a lot of people. And then JT Brown earlier this season did his protest when he was playing for Tampa Bay, and I did a video on that, and I got abuse from some American woman. I came back to her abuse saying, okay, then what was if all these sports stars of various colours and creeds were to walk down to the White House and protest? And she said nothing. I don't understand why the Americans get so wound up about their national flag and their anthem. I really don't understand it. Really don't. Because their anthem says they're the land of the free, and they're not. But Seattle, it's full of serial killers. It's fine. Seriously, it's Canada. They won't nuke you. There's nothing there to nuke. And I think all the seals, the wolverines, the wolves, and the moose will get like kind of radiation sickness and like evolve into super angry animals, and then fuck them up. To be fair, honestly, North Korea won't do anything because China is has reduced its imports by 80%, and North Korea is begging China not to stop and close the border completely. If that's done, they're screwed because 80% of their import trade goes through one border crossing, and the Chinese have basically shut it. Corruption in FIFA. To be fair, North Korea's probably most likely to nuke itself because they're that bad at aiming, it might just fall down on them. Corruption at FIFA, this is an issue. I haven't covered it very much on the channel, but the story's still the same. It hasn't gone anywhere. Sepp Blatter gets fired and banned from football, and then gets his ban reduced by 3 years because he's an old man. And Giovanni Infantino, okay, he has an Italian name, but he's from the next valley down in the same province of Switzerland. So they replaced one old corrupt official with another corrupt official from the next village. That's how FIFA works. UEFA as well with Platini, Michel Platini. I was very disappointed when Platini was corrupt. I was so disheartened because he was a graceful player. I was lucky enough to watch, I think, the last few years of his career in Italy. We're talking the last couple of years of his career. Very talented player, and I was so upset that Platini, one of the most graceful midfielders the game had ever seen, became corrupt. And that's when I really decided to stop watching football as much as I do. I still do my football videos, but if you guys notice, I'm doing them less on the channel. The early days of the channel, I was doing football all the time, and then I thought, you know what, I'm getting bored of doing football all the time, and I think you guys are as well. And I'm doing football videos, or for Sean, who's obviously in Canada, soccer videos, less and less. I'm falling out of love with the sport. The sports I love more, I do more videos on. The sports I love less, I do less videos on. And with football, because of the amount of corruption, not just in FIFA, but in domestic leagues and in domestic football associations, it's got to the point where it is depressing to know that a sport that I've been watching and following is really, really depressing how it's gone. North Korea might actually drop the bomb on themselves, by the way, Sean, and him and Trump might just, I don't know, shag a porn star while he's at it. Do you think IPL late replacement request hurting? Not necessarily. Tom Curran, he shares the same surname as me because my real name is John Curran, and we went to the same school. So I hope, as an ex-alumni of the same school, I hope Tom Curran does really well in the next 2 months, and I hope he gets a test call up later in the summer, and he gets to, because England's fast seam attack needs fresh injection of youth and speed, and he is a younger version of Brett Lee / Jimmy Anderson. I think that's what the England test attack needs, is someone like him. Well, he plays for Surrey, and he went to my old school, so he went to Wellington College like I did, and I have a lot of time for local. Well, his dad was from a Zimbabwean test player, but he lives locally and he plays locally. So I tend to support local based players. And he's got his brother Sam as well. They are both ripping up for Surrey. So I hope Sam next year gets a chance in the T20 IPL as well, because that'd be really interesting to have both brothers in the IPL at the same time. That would be really, really good. They're both exceptionally fast. They can swing a ball very, very well. They're still learning their game. They're still developing, but they are good. Alex Hales needs to redeem himself because of what he did with Ben Stokes. What Alex Hales did with Ben Stokes in Bristol last September, he was there. He got away with it. Ben Stokes got caught because Ben Stokes decided to break a guy's eye socket, but Alex Hales was there and was involved with the incident, and he needs to redeem himself seriously. And cricket has a thing where players can misbehave and cheat or ball tamper, and then they're accepted back into the game. No one cares. It seems like it's forgotten that Jeffrey Boycott, alcoholic, wife-beating thug, he's allowed to be one of the most annoying commentators in British sport. Cannot stand him. Freddie Flintoff, loved the guy, met the guy, but the Pedlo incident, he had a severe drink problem. No one really stopped him. They just said, yeah, okay, it's happened, it's embarrassing, but we're going to accept you with open arms and we're going to keep playing you. Cricket has an issue of it's rewarding bad behaviour, and that's why cricket has problems. But Alex Hales is a very talented batsman, but he needs to seriously redeem himself and behave. While he's out in India, he needs to behave. If he gets involved in another silly incident involving alcohol, I think that's him done, because so many players have mucked around and misbehaved and done silly things, both England, Australian and South African, that I'm getting a bit annoyed with some of them because they're letting the sport down. But Tom Curran, he's a very, very, very good young fast bowler. And the IPL will be a great experience for him because it will test him in hot, humid conditions that he will face later on in his career when we go on test matches in India and Pakistan and Bangladesh. That is going to be the perfect test on a subcontinental wicket for him, because subcontinental wickets can be a bit dead sometimes, and the heat will also affect him. And that's going to be interesting how he deals with it because he's younger. I'm thinking about getting Discord at some point, but I don't think my channel is big enough for it yet. but I am planning at some point, depending on how the channel does and how it grows and how many more subscribers I get. If it's growing at the rate it is, which it's doubled in size in a month, then I would of course I would consider it. But I'm not at the moment. I don't think the channel is big enough for me to warrant having a Discord server. But it's definitely in the pipeline, and I've got to do a bit of research and see how I would work with it. I don't know enough about Discord yet. I'm going to have to do a lot of research, but I'm happy to do it when the channel gets to a size where I think, okay, we can keep the hardcore subscribers on Discord and come up with video ideas, and we can have discussion, and then the main video channel, everyone can get involved, because it's starting to get the point where it's getting a little bit bigger, and I'm trying to keep up with everyone. And to be fair, I mean, watching the hockey guy, he is my favourite channel, and I've learned a fair bit from watching him. And I did send him a letter with my hockey programs that he opened on the channel, and he's got a letter, and I basically say that I don't model myself on him, but I look at how he's evolved his channel, and it's helping me make my channel better. I am looking at Discord. Patreon is something I don't want to go down the route just yet, but we'll see with that as well. Again, that's, I think, probably more personal videos for the certain subscribers who want to do that, and I'm not sure how I want to go around my Patreon just yet. But again, I've got to research that and see what the interest would be from you guys. There are other, like Twitch. I have got a Twitch account, but I don't have a webcam on my Xbox, so I can only watch stuff on Twitch rather than do stuff on Twitch. So there are other options available. But I will look at Discord in the next couple of weeks, and I've got a few other things to sort out my end. I'm looking for work at the moment. I've got a few interviews lined up, so I want to see how in the workplace it goes and how the channel goes. So there's a few things going on, but of course, yeah, I'm open to new ideas that can definitely help me develop the channel. And any feedback I get from you guys is welcome. I don't mind if it's criticism or praise. And to be fair, this live stream tonight has been quite. Now I've got the chat working and I can actually read everything. Discord is an online server where I'm not 100% sure of it, but it's basically similar to, I would say, I'm going to have to research it, but it's a place where certain subscribers, the hardcore subscribers, can have a discussion. It's sort of like, if you remember MSN Messenger, I think it's something similar to that, if I can remember correctly. But I would look into it and see if it's compatible with what I want to do with the channel. Because to be honest, this is more of a hobby for me, and so therefore I just enjoy doing what I do. English Commonwealth Games. I haven't watched enough of the Commonwealth Games because of the timings, because of it being on Gold Coast, and for some reason the first event starts at the coverage over here in the UK doesn't start until like midnight. I don't get a lot. I haven't been able to watch a lot of it, but they are second in the medals table. Australia are first, England are second. We have got a lot of medals. Scotland are doing quite well as well. Wales are doing quite well. The home nations, as Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and England, are all doing very, very well. But the Australians are running away with it, but they are the host nation. There's been a few controversies in this Commonwealth Games, but it's not getting the press coverage it should. And I think that's because of the time of year they're hosting it. Normally the Commonwealth Games would be in August. Yeah, Sean, if you could, when I've uploaded the video and this is all processed, put the link in the comment section, and I would really appreciate the link to Discord, and I could have a look at it and then and see if it's compatible with what I want to do, and I can research and have a look. But I'd be more than happy. So yes, put the link in the comment. Yeah, basically just put the link when I've uploaded the video and it's uploading. When it's fully uploaded, just put it in the comment section, and I'll have a little look at it. And if you just send me the Hockey Guys one, I'll be happy just to be on his Discord server. There's other YouTubers, but he's the main channel I watch. There's only 3 channels I really watch majorly at the moment, and he's one of the 3. So I would happily, lovingly get on the server and have a chat. And of course, I've got to learn what it's all about on Discord, because I'm going to be new at it as well. So I'm going to have to do a bit of learning. But I do appreciate the invite as well, and that is appreciated. And then I can, be on Discord and do stuff on there. But I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate the assistance as well, Sean. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. But no, we've discussed a lot of stuff, and most of it's been ice hockey related, and you've seen some of my jersey collection. And now I have to do a video on British ice hockey, because another fan request. So I'm putting that in. Okay, with the 1-year ban, cheers, Sean. Thank you for all the invites. That's brilliant. I'll have a look at all 3 of them, and I'm more than happy to have a Discord server, and then I can learn how to do stuff, and then of course I can tell you that I've got videos on Discord, and then I can link it into my video description. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. 1-year ban for Smith and Warner. No, I think, to be fair, David Warner's been doing a lot of misbehaviours on and off the field. He's been involved in brawls in pubs in the Ashes over here. When he was here a couple of years ago, he punched Joe Root in the face, which he got away with. Don't know how. Smith, I think, was too naive as captain and too immature and not ready to be captain. And he was too weak-willed. I think the ICC, the punishments were far too soft. Are they too harsh? I think it's more a watershed moment, and that set a precedent for this incident happening again. Make the reward so little that the crime is not worth participating in. If you make the punishment harsh, they're going to think twice before doing something, because they've lost out on a lot of money, these guys. I think the press reaction should have been a bit more objective rather than going off them personally. I think they should have been objective about it. Every team has fiddled the ball a little bit, but not on the level of these guys. Should it become league-based? County cricket in England is relegation promotion, so it is a bit like football. So in England it is. Should the IPL be a double-tier system where you have the top-tier IPL and a secondary-tier IPL? Possibly. It's interesting how I think sports can all learn off each other. And they can all help each other out. So, interesting question. I think the banning is a watershed moment, and Cricket Australia are trying to clear up a very big mess that they've got themselves in, and the team have got themselves in. Cricket in Australia needs reform. The ICC needs reform, and the governing bodies around the world need reform. So what happened in the 3rd test in Cape Town? There's still more to come out about that. That story is not going away anytime soon. There's more to come out. I think they're still withholding information from us, and I think when more comes out, it'd be more damaging for the sport. Things are going to have to come out, and the sport has got to reform itself and say, look, this is no longer acceptable. Sledging, I like a bit of the chirping. You get it in other sports like ice hockey and football and rugby. You do get the chat between players, but some of the sledging that David Warner's been going on doing, and other Australians, and in fact players across the board, but specifically Warner, there's a moral line, and he's crossed it. His behaviours off the field by multiple cricketers, including Ben Stokes, David Warner, Bancroft, whatever it may be, whoever it is, Bairstow, South Africa as well. You've had issues in South Africa with Andre Nell and Mackay Rantini. He's gone to prison because he's got his own issues. There needs to be a code of conduct as well. The sport needs to bring in saying off-field indiscretions, such as the Freddie Flintoff's Pedlo incident. Cricket does have a booze culture problem, especially even at the top level. Club level I can deal with, but when you get to the professional level, that's not good. And it's still not catching up with the professionalism of other sports. So cricket needs to bring in a code of conduct that players who play top level cricket need to abide by. Doesn't matter if it's IPL, county cricket, any kind of first-class cricket where you're playing and you're professional, there should be a code of conduct and they should stick to it. And other sports are having issues with players and athletes having addictions and issues, but there should be a code of conduct in place. And cricket can lead the way, and other sports follow suit. If they put a code of conduct in place, and if anyone breaches that, they lose their centralised contract and they get a ban. It's simple, because it's getting to the point now where too many misbehaviours are happening, too many embarrassing incidents are happening, and it's embarrassing because the culture is all wrong. Bullying is rife. There's still corruption issues. Discipline's gone out the window. Crimes are being committed by players. There needs to be a code of conduct, and they need to have rules in place saying, okay, if you breach curfew and you're with your national side and you get involved in an incident, you're suspended for a year. You can still play domestically, but you cannot represent your country for a year. You're out in the wilderness. You're just getting paid by your county. Now you lose a centralised contract. They need to start doing things like that, and then players might start behaving. The league system, we have county cricket here. We have a 2-tier county cricket system, and then there's the 3rd-tier county cricket system with the counties that are too small in fan base or finances to get into the top 2 tiers. Other countries have it differently. It varies from country to country. And it's a regional thing. It's how in Europe we have a promotion relegation system in our sports for the most part. Other countries and other areas like North America have a franchise where it's just a whole league, that's it. There's no promotion relegation, there's that many teams, and then there's affiliate teams for the league below which support the teams above, etc., etc. Yeah, Sean, thank you for the invites for the Discord server. I will check them out when I can, most likely tomorrow. I will check them out. I am kind of interested to see what the server's all about and if it can help me and my channel. So I'm more than happy to do so. So I really appreciate the invites you sent. Really appreciate them a lot, and I'll have a look at them when I can. Right, I actually want to hit 3 hours tonight. I want to finish in about 22 minutes time. So I want to hit the 3-hour mark because I want to see, any more questions you guys will. There's still a lot of you in the chat. I know it's a smaller chat. I mean, I know some of you have been on channels where. Cheers for that. Did I? Oh, well, I'm trying my best. I will definitely look at the Discord server, and I want to see if people want to, follow me on that. That's fine. I know you will. And if you've got any other hockey friends, yeah, of course you can invite them, and then we can see if we can grow both Discord and we can grow this. Because if it helps this grow, and I've been asked the question, would I, if I could make a decent living, would I make this my primary source of income? Of course I would. If this could make me the money, of course I would. So I want to get remonetized again, because when I was out of work before, this was making me money, and this was my little money earner, and this was keeping me going, and it's a hobby, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy that you guys enjoy my content. I mean, not everyone's going to agree with my opinion. My opinion is my opinion. I try my best with the limited stuff I have. I have very limited access to live sport. I have to try and find it on the internet, or I have to watch the highlights, or basically live score. Unlike the hockey guy, I have less access to live sports because in this country, in the UK, it costs a frigging fortune for pay-per-view, and there's very few channels that you can get it free on. And so I think British sport has an issue there where it's too reliant on the pay-per-view sports system. Far too reliant, and the pay-per-view sports business model where you have to pay to view is a very flawed model, and it's a dying model, and it's going to cause catastrophic financial consequences for British and European sport in the long run, and world sport in the long run. I mean, how long have you, Sean? How long have you been on the Discord server? I think you mentioned about a year or so. It clearly is working. You're clearly enjoying it. Of course, I will check it out. So yeah, I really appreciate the server, and I will be more than happy to have a look at it. So thank you very much. Right, Nick, I'm hoping the chat is still working, because we've obviously had a lot of issues with the chat tonight. It stopped working about an hour ago, and we had to faff around and fiddle with some electrics and fiddle with my laptop and all sorts. Oh, it's a bit comfy. That's better. But no, a lot of good questions have been asked tonight. We've covered a lot of sports, and I've now got a very interesting video to do tomorrow. I've had a few idiots on this channel. I've had a few, but you've got to look at all my videos. You've got to look at all of them, and it's very rare that I get crappy comments. I don't know how that is. And even as the channel's got bigger, I actually don't get that many idiots. I get a few on live stream, but it'd be interesting. Who do I reckon won the county championship? I don't know. If I'm honest, I haven't really followed the county championship for a while. I do follow Test cricket, so when England are playing a Test series, I follow that religiously on 5 Live Radio because I refuse to pay Sky money because it's far too expensive. And I think Surrey always have a very, very good chance. Essex, they're the defending champions. They've got a very, very good chance. I think there's some very, very strong teams, and I think a lot of the young players, a lot of the unsung heroes might want to shine this year because of what's happened with the Ashes. And I think the review that England cricket's going to have with the national side, a lot of players are going to try and put their hands up and say, look, these guys have misbehaved and let you down. Give us a shot. I think Ben Stokes, he's still lucky to be playing for England. I think the fact that he's now got a trial date, before then, he can't play. As soon as his trial date comes up, yeah, of course he can play. That makes no sense to me. The way they've handled the whole Ben Stokes thing, that needs to be looked at. In India versus England test, yeah, I think this is going to be really, really good. The fact that a whole starting 11 of English players, because you could make a starting 11 out of those English players for bowling, batting, and fielding, are playing in the IPL. They're going to bring that knowledge back on these Indian players, and even if they don't get selected, they're going to bring that knowledge back on the Indian players' strengths and weaknesses. That's going to be an interesting series. I think England needs to start looking at some of these young players like Tom Curran, because the senior players have failed them so badly, and I don't know if Ben Stokes should play in the summer. The reason why he's allowed to play is the thing is he's playing with a broken hand because he broke his hand in September, and between that incident and his magistrates court appearance, he wasn't allowed to play for the Test side. Right, as soon as they got a court date sorted, yeah, he's allowed to play. Well, what's the point? What was the point of taking on the Ashes tour to do nothing apart from sit there and drink beer? That's all he was doing. He was doing absolutely nothing useful. Yes, he did. He has played in the Ashes, but he hasn't played enough for England. And I think playing in India is going to help him. And he's going to come back to England in the summer when the England Test series takes place, and he's going to have an inside track on Virat Kohli, for example, or Sharma, and their batting technique and how to get them out and how to bowl to them. That's what I think is going to be really, really useful. I think Jimmy Anderson's near the tail end of his career now. He's not going to be going for much longer. Another year at most, maybe to next summer. Then he's done. Stuart Broad can't carry the bowling attack on his own. And players like Tom Curran are crucial, absolutely crucial to the future development of the England side and the direction of the England side. But yeah, no, Ben Stokes, he's playing bad in the IPL. Everything I've heard, he's been terrible. He can't bowl properly at the moment because when he punched the guy in the face, he actually damaged hand ligaments and stuff because that was smart. He's clearly got a temper on him. And the issues with cricket, what we've seen with the Australian team, with David Warner and the bad behaviours there, and in the past with South African players and English players and West Indian players and across the board misbehaving, it doesn't matter that he's a damn good player. He is. What matters is destabilise the team around him, his teammates, and he's hurt himself in the process, and he could face a prison sentence. So, in my eyes, he shouldn't play until his court appearance and his legal troubles are out of the way. because it's rewarding bad behaviour. Oh yeah, you can get in a fight. Yeah, oh, yeah, you can play for the. You can go on the national side. You can go on the Ashes tour. He did nothing on the Ashes tour. Absolutely nothing. He couldn't play. They took him and they selected him, but they said he wasn't able to play for the first 11. But he's on the tour. What's the point in taking someone who's not going to play? It's absolutely insane. Yeah, no, Sam Curran is good as well. It's not just Sam and Tom. There are other good young English players, and a lot of them have gone to the IPL, and that's great, and that's good to see. The thing is, the ECB was so reluctant to allow English players to go out, and they refused to let English players go out in the early days, because if they did, they were put in a test wilderness, which was wrong, absolutely wrong. There's a reason why the IPL is the best domestic cricket competition in the world. People from every corner of the world tune in to watch it. So I have no idea why the ECB wouldn't want their players to develop new skills and actually come back as better players. Makes no sense, does it? Wow. Me versus Old Man Rush. Who's going to win? Probably Old Man Rush. He's got more subscribers and he has more content. I do catch him every now and then, but I don't follow him when he has the game, his video game section up. I follow him when he has things to talk about actually related to British ice hockey, like severe important stuff. When he does his video gaming streaming, I don't enjoy that. But when he does his live chats and streams on hockey related issues, that's better. The thing is, not all these English players are going to play for the Test side. Most of them aren't even on central contracts. So I don't know why they have to say you have to return by this date, because half of them aren't going to play for England in the next 12 months. So I let them develop the game for a couple of years, give them a couple of years of going out and playing in the IPL every summer, and then get in the Test side and develop them through the counties as well. The ECB needs to work out what they want. Do they want their cricketers to play the best cricket possible, or do they want to stymie their development? Because it seems they want to have a semi-developed cricket player and they can't get the best out of them. Yeah, he was doing his Elite League podcast. Oh, that's cool. No, he sometimes does his video game like streams as well. And I think he should have a second channel, like the hockey guy has the entertainment guy, and he does it all on one channel. And that's probably where he's going wrong. If he had a second channel for his video game streaming, he might find it's better for both him and the channel. But no, I'll have to have a look at some of his content, because I haven't seen his content for a while. He hasn't posted much in a while. There's not been much to talk about really, apart from there's a playoff it's done, and we'll have to see what he says. But no, I haven't watched him for a little while. But he's one of the channels I watch a fair bit of. And it's interesting because some of the people on the Hockey Guys channel don't realise we have ice hockey over here in the UK. Yeah, we've gone for the longest now on Livestream. That's good. I will have to stop in a few minutes because my granddad's going to go to bed and I don't want to keep him awake because I have a very loud voice. And I would say I'm going to stop in about 10 minutes. So we've got 10 minutes. So, wow. How much have they raised? Is that in Canadian dollars or American dollars? Because that is a hell of a lot of money. Hell of a lot of money. That is amazing how people have decided to give so much. It's humbling. It is actually humbling. That is unreal. And it's of course it's where your Jersey Day say, isn't it? That's why people are doing it. It's Jersey for Humboldt Day, isn't it? So that's I think we've reached the channel record for video length. I do apologise about the issues we had with the chat earlier. We did have some glitch, and I've had to use the chat like with the pop-out chat rather than in the column. It seems to work better anyway, so I'm gonna keep doing this. The IPL has had some good and bad effects for cricket. Good effects, yes, it's increased participation. More people around the world are excited about it. The casual fan who may find Test cricket or standard format's boring, suddenly see Chris Gale hit it 120 metres or AB de Villiers do a reverse sweep over his head, that's going to interest the casual fan who wouldn't otherwise watch. But on the bad side of it, Rajasthan Royals and match fixing and Srisanth, that's happened with it as well. So it's a catch-22. You've got some good and you've got some bad. And I think the cricket governing bodies are the ones who need to reform. And again, that code of conduct that I've been talking about, they need to have a code of conduct which is set in stone, which says this is how players should behave in this sport. If you want to play this sport, this is how you've got to behave. You cannot meet this code of conduct. Goodbye centralised contract. You can play village cricket or cricket of your local cricket team, your local club team. You're not going to make it as an international. 9.9 million. I'm assuming it's Canadian if it's for the Humboldt Broncos. Even so, that is an amazing amount of money considering the strength of the Canadian dollar. That's still a huge chunk of money. That is amazing. The outpouring of help to people. Calgary Buffaloes major midget AAA and an auto parcel donated, like, wow. So this is what I find amazing is people all over the world are donating. And when I can find out from the hockey guy how I can donate from the UK, I can't give much, but I can give as much as I can. I will have to figure something out, but I'm happy to donate money from me to Brody Heinz's family, because obviously I can't get to Abbotsford anytime soon. I don't have a passport. If I could go, I would just turn up and go, I'll be the stats guy. I'll sit here and go, yeah, you've had a goal. You've been 10 penalty minutes. I'd have to do that, but that is amazing. Joe Root not being picked up. Look, the ECB has an aversion for its best players wanting to get better. So with Joe Root not going, with what's happened with the Ashes, and I think Joe Root's captaincy being questioned, I think Joe Root needs a slight break from cricket and needs to sit down with the ECB and they need to work out what went wrong in the last winter and the winter before. For the last 18 months, England cannot win a test match away from home. Match fixing may get tougher as we go along. Well, here's the thing. Players like Phil Tufnell were crap at fielding, and they admitted they were terrible at fielding. So when Phil Tufnell was playing cricket, he was a really bad fielder. Very good spin bowler, could bat a bit, couldn't field to save his life. No balls do happen. If they happen more often than they shouldn't, then that bowler's got, then yes, with the Pakistanis, what they did a few years back, okay, that raised the other. Drop catches do happen, though. They do happen. Every player drops a catch at some point. Because you've got to work out, if a fast bowler's charging in at 85, 90 mile an hour and that ball's hitting the bat, that fielder has got to have reactions of like that. And people like John T. Rhodes, who've gone into the IPL to help coaching and getting involved and that style of fielding, yeah, we expect them to do these crazy catches, but no, catches will get dropped. I think what's happened is you've got to more look at this suspicious betting patterns through legal betting companies, because obviously the illegal ones we can't work out, but they can work out if there's something odd going on, if there's a sudden surge for a specific moment, like a no ball or a wide in said over, and it happens, and there's a lot of people betting on that. That's when there's a spot fix. That's how the Pakistanis got caught out, was legitimate betting companies like Ladbrokes and Bet365 over here in the UK. They found some suspicious betting patterns. They went to the police. Then the Pakistanis got caught very, very quickly because the red flags were raised by the legitimate legal betting companies when that's a bit naughty. So, but we'll have to, I think match fixing, doesn't matter if you're the ringleader or you were that young Pakistani bowler who's now been allowed back in the game, banned for life. It means the risk is outweighed, the reward is outweighed by the risk. It's too risky to do. The reward is too little. Because Srisanth went to prison for what he did, and he wasn't very popular before he got, caught doing what he was doing. But yeah, no, honestly, you have to have a look at the England-Pakistan series in 2010 when they were constantly when when they spot fixed the first couple of overs of the game, and it came out very quickly, and then the whole thing just ended into farce, and they got done, and 3 players went to court and were done for fraud and went to prison, and they got banned for life, and one of them was allowed to play the game again. Salman Butt will never play ever again. He went to prison. That's how, again, I think the ICC needs to come up with a code of conduct for first-class cricket players to abide by. And if you can't abide by it, you're out of the game, because there's too many bad press stories coming out of cricket at the moment, and it's really damaging for the sport. When there's a lot of good things going on in the sport, and too much bad stuff is happening, which is damaging it. But yeah, we're going to keep going for 4 more minutes. Any more questions? Because we've got 4 more minutes left, and then I'm going to go sleep. Well, 9 minutes. 9 minutes, and then I'm going to call it at night. I want to hit 3 hours, and then when I've hit 3 hours, then I remember Bob Woolmer died. Yeah, no, that was really strange. But when Bob Woolmer died, that was exceptionally strange. And anything to do with Pakistani cricket is a lot of raised eyebrows. And certain people on when the Australians got caught said the ICC gave them light punishments because they're white. No, just Aussies are less likely to match fix. It's different. Pakistani play. I don't know what player you're talking about. Is it players in general or a specific player? Because Pakistani player banned. What is that? One player? Is that all of them? The thing is, Pakistani cricket is known to be highly corrupt. They've been done for match fixing. Several of them have been done for match fixing. I think because of the Pakistani Cricket Board, Bob Woolmer as well, there's a track history with Pakistani cricket having a very dodgy history at the moment. Some very talented players, but at the same time, there's too many issues with Pakistani players at the moment. There's links to organised crime with them. There's match fixing allegations against a lot of them. Ball tampering all the time. It is what it is. I think the Pakistani players have shot themselves in the foot because they did the match fixing in 2010, because Bob Woolmer died in suspicious circumstances in, I think, 2007, 2008. There's too many suspicious things going on with Pakistani cricket. They have to play their test matches in United Arab Emirates. There's a lot of things wrong with cricket in Pakistan, and they're not cleaning up their game enough. And I don't know what the ICC does about it, but there's far too many things going wrong. But I don't like it to see a whole nationality banned because of some bad eggs. But there's Pakistani cricket, including in the Pakistani Cricket Board as well. There's a lot of bad eggs involved in the running of the game in Pakistan, and a lot of players do match fix. Most haven't been caught, but it is known. Rumours get round, and after 2010, those rumours are gaining momentum, and it's sad. But unfortunately, Pakistani cricket has got too many links to organised crime, corruption, the whole lot. It's a sorry mess, and the players, the clean players, those who don't cheat, those who don't match fix, are suffering because of their peers not deciding to play with honour. 5 arrested for over at an abandoned toilet? Yes. What do you mean 5 arrested? I mean five of whom arrested? The thing is, Toys R Us in the UK has gone bust completely. I don't know what's gone in the US, but Toys R Us in the UK doesn't exist anymore. Of the people that did it, 5 arrested for rape. That makes limited sense. That grammar makes it. People that did it. 5 arrested for a rape at abandoned Toys R Us. Okay, I get that bit. I don't get that. Right. Okay, I'm assuming that's in Canada. Toys R Us over here in the UK went out of business about 3 weeks ago, and a few of my mates lost their jobs. I'm the type of guy who's got mates with vans, who would happily take loads of the stock and sell it on eBay, but apparently that's illegal to steal stock from a shut down store. Apparently it doesn't belong to anyone, but you can't have it. Not sports related, but very interesting. It does it. There's some interesting stuff that comes out. Some of you guys do crack me up. It makes me giggle. I don't know what to say to that, but some of the stuff you guys come out with makes me giggle. Some of the humour that is on this channel and some of the humour we have in live streams and from people who participate does make me laugh so much. But no, Sean, I will definitely look into that history of British ice hockey video for you, and I'll see, we'll see what the reception is. And I do appreciate the video suggestion from you. I was gonna be on the history of the Rattle Bees, but that's just one team by itself. So we'll look at the history from about 92 to present day. Let me just get that in. 1992 to 2018. So I'll go through the history of British ice hockey from 1992, the year I started watching it, for the year I moved back to the UK from the army base in Germany, or the year after, to present day. And I will do some research tomorrow morning, and we'll get a video up. I don't know how long that video is going to be. It might be a long one. I try and keep my videos between 5 and 10 minutes. If they go over 10 minutes, I get a little bit anxious because I don't want to bore people to death, because I have one of those voices that either keeps you awake or sends you to sleep, whichever you prefer. But I've had some great questions tonight, and Sean, you've been here from the beginning. I think you've been here the whole way through, so I really appreciate all your input and all your questions, because you've been here for nearly 3 hours. I don't know what it's like in British Columbia right now, but you must. I mean, we've got 3 minutes left, so I can take a few more questions, and I'll be happy to answer any more questions. But I do try my best. Like, I have no moderators. I have it's just me. So it is literally just me. I'll read every single comment, and if I think something is inappropriate, I will have to block it and remove it. We've had one idiot tonight who've had to get rid of, but on the whole, it's been interesting. India versus England Test series. Okay, I'll answer this one, and I think I'll take one more question after this. I'm going to answer the prediction on India versus England Test series, and then we'll have one more question, and then we'll call it a night, because I think my family want to go to bed. I think it'll be a drawn series. I think the Test series will end in a draw. I think England do play very well at home, and India are one of the best Test sides right now, who are consistently good. And the IPL has something to do with that. But I think with the English players playing in the IPL this year, they're going to have an inside track on some of these Indian players. Okay, this is going to be the last question. This is relevant. One of the things shown in a CA document. What's a CA? Just now was someone's actually an 18-year-old, and the guy that did it was a YouTuber, G Wario, that passed away. I don't know what a CA document is, but that's not something I know a lot about. But I do know that if you're 18, you're over the age of consent. So then it's a slightly different matter, depending on if they give consent to have relations with which body classes as sexual assault. But what is a CA document? Is that a court order or something? Because I don't know what a CA document is. I now sound really confused. This is random. Yeah, Sean, I don't know what a CA document is. I don't know if that's a Canadian legal thing. I've studied law in the UK, but I didn't study law in Canada, so I don't. Yeah, I think the series India-England will be tied. Canadian business. Okay. I don't know enough about Canadian politics, Canadian law, and Canadian business. I know obviously about the NHL and a bit about the CFL. I don't know much about. I don't know anything about this. I don't know who, but I've heard stories about some YouTubers taking advantage of people in that sense, and it happens. It's going to happen in every strata of society. We've had a big thing on the news today about a local authority over here in the UK failing young boys and girls who were abused. And it's an authority that's had bad press before, and it's had it again. So that is that. In the Test series, yeah, I think it's going to be it's going to be a drawn test series. I think it will be 2-2 in tests, and then one test will be drawn, so it'll be a drawn series. I think India are the toughest opposition that England are going to face for a while. I think they're one of the best sides in the world. Right, okay, that's it. I'm going to end the stream there because I've been going for over 3 hours now, and I need to get this uploaded and processed because I need to go out and do a few bits and pieces. I left a big dislike and unsubscribe just because I was feeling kind. Okay, bye, corrupted channel, you tosser. Arsey, arsey. Harassment, bye. We'll go for that. Choose one. Bang, bye. But yeah, I'm gonna call that a night. Thank you to everyone who's been involved with the live stream tonight. I really appreciate it. Sean, you've been great tonight, so thank you for all your input and all the questions you've had. Really appreciate it. Zabihab Chowdhury, is that how you pronounce your name? Thank you for your questions. And Abdul, you've had some good ones as well. Sajid, you always turn up. You've been turning up a lot, and everyone else, I think they've all left the chat. There were some low guys earlier who regularly come on the channel as well. So I thank you very much. Really appreciate everything. And Sean, I'm assuming you're putting the Discord server links in the chat after in the comment section. So I'll look out for them. Thank you all, and I will see you guys. I'll have some videos for you tomorrow. I've got to do British ice hockey, which is your request, Sean. So I'll be doing the British ice hockey from '92 to modern day for you and your mates. And I'll be doing a couple other videos on what happens on the playoffs tonight, and wait for my predictions will go out the window because I'm hoping Boston Predators final, and I'll be a happy man because that means I've predicted something. So good night all, or good day, depending where you are. Enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, it's Jersey Day, Jersey for Humboldt. So if you're not a hockey fan, don't know what's going on there. Good night all, and I will do a video for the IPL as well. I'll do a history of the IPL video. So I'll get that. Thank you very much. History of IPL. IPL. Right. Thank you all. Good night.